Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another edition of the Reality TV RHAPpy Hour. My name is Jordan Parhar, and as always, I'm here to talk some reality TV with you on RHAPisawebsite.com. Today, I'm going to be talking some Survivor with you. We're going to stick with the schedule of talking Big Brother one week, Survivor every other week. And I'm very lucky, guys, because normally young children out there, they have all these heroes. They have people that they look up to as young lads, as young lasses. They look up to, I don't know, for me, it was Batman and Spider-Man and Superman, all these guys. And I enjoyed reality TV people as a kid because I grew up on reality television. And one of my heroes was a man who is also a super fan of the OC. He was somebody who got screwed over terribly on his Big Brother season. And he's somebody that I just love very much. I feel like this is me in maybe 10 to 15 years. We'll see. But I love him to death. He's my hero, and I'm getting to speak to him today. So I'm very lucky. Normally, I don't get nervous for these things, but I'm very nervous today. And that's because I'm speaking to the great Eric Stein, ladies and gentlemen. Eric, how are you doing, my friend?
Welcome to the OC, bitch. Jordan, I appreciate you having me. This is really exciting, but I got to say, you need to aim higher with your heroes, man. All right, Batman's one thing, but a fifth-place finisher on a reality show from 8 years ago, you can do better than this, man. Come on, you're better than that.
Contrary to popular belief, Eric, I'm not better than that. If you watch my season of Big Brother, you would know. So I think
you're killing the podcast game, and I need some pointers right away. All right, so I rewatched a couple seconds of my last one, right? Yeah. And my old 8 years ago diary room problems are plaguing me again. Crazy eyebrows. My eyes are rolling into the back of the head when I'm thinking, like, how do I stay focused here without these crazy facial expressions going on?
That's hard. I don't know. I feel like I struggle with that a little bit too, but yeah, I don't know. That's something. I think that all of us reality TV people, we're all a little bit insane, right? And we all, regardless of when there's a camera in front of you, and this is for anybody for that matter, you're going to do some weird and crazy things with your facial expressions and otherwise. So I honestly, I don't know if I have an answer for you, Eric. I think maybe, like, think of maybe just like the most, like, you got to get in the zone. Like, think about the most dry person you could think of. Maybe somebody like Zach from your season, and just like get in like the zone and think of like, okay, how would somebody like Zach think during this moment? And then just like try to like emulate that reaction on your face. And I think you'll be okay.
I'm a cerebral assassin. Okay, I'm there right now. It's perfect. I was thinking of just taping over my eyes, or just putting my brows in place, or just holding them the entire time.
That could work. Or you could get Botox like Howie did after Big Brother All-Stars, like after Dr. Will told him to, and then, you know, they just stay in place like this all the time, right? So that could work. I think that might help, Eric. I'm not sure though.
All right, we'll see what happens, but well, we know what's going to happen. I'm going to make crazy facial expressions. It's fine. We'll move on.
It's okay. As the king of crazy facial expressions from Canadian reality television, it's okay. You're in good company today, Eric, because that's what I like to do as well. So you're okay. You'll be fine. I'm excited for this. I'm so pumped, Eric. I mean, this is crazy. Thank you so much for doing this. Guys, I'm sure you guys are all very pumped. I got a lot of positive feedback about having Eric on the show. So if you want to leave your questions for us today, you can tweet me. I'm at Jordan Parhar. Do not tweet Eric Stein on Twitter. That is not the real Eric Stein. So tweet me, use the hashtag RHAPpy. Maybe your question will get asked on the show. We're going to be talking about some Survivor Cambodia today. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I am so freaking excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared, Eric. I really am.
That's my permanent state of mind. And furthermore, I just want to toss out there, never missed an episode of Survivor. I would consider myself an equal authority on Survivor as I am on Big Brother. I probably have more Survivor friends than I do Big Brother. And the best part about Survivor is I can bash these people openly and know that I'll never have to play them in the game, and it'll never come back to haunt me. They'll blow me off at a charity event, but that's fine. Who cares?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious, because that was some of the feedback that I got after doing these Survivor shows was the exact same thing, because I was podcasting about Big Brother 17 this summer, and I tried to be, I went to the school of Rob Sesternino. I tried to be pretty PC, pretty nice to these people for the most part. But for Survivor, I know, like you, I know I'm never going to interact with these people, so I can just speak my mind and talk a little bit of shit. That's okay, and speak my mind. Because with Big Brother, I'm always scared that, oh my gosh, if I say something about Austin, if I see him next year Reality Rally, he's going to break me in half or something like that.
Right. Well, no, it's an awkward dynamic, because what gives us the right to critique anybody's gameplay, they can critique ours all the same. So it's tough to be an analyst when you've been through it or whatever. And I feel a little bit more free and open on this front, because I can analyze Survivor. I'll never play it. It's fine. No one knows.
Oh, it's so true. Okay, so yeah, guys, if you want to send us your questions, that'll be awesome. And also, if you want to support the show, a few ways you can do that. You can subscribe on YouTube, go to Reality TV RHAP-ups on YouTube. And hey, like this video, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. And subscribe on iTunes as well. Go to robhasawebsite.com/RHAPpy hour. That's happy hour with an R at the front. Leave a review for the show as well, and we're gonna do. I'm gonna do a Skype call with 2 people that leave reviews at the end of the season. So that's kind of cool. I don't know. We can talk about some Survivor. We can talk about some Saved by the Bell, OC, casting for Big Brother, why I'm the worst Big Brother player ever. Whatever you want to talk about, we'll talk about it. So it'll be great. So definitely leave a review if you can. Okay, Eric. Tonight's top story: PG Law is voted out of Survivor Cambodia. The third one voted out. Were you surprised by this outcome, my friend?
All right. Surprised at the beginning of the episode? Yes. By the end of the episode? Absolutely not. I think she had, here I go already. I think she had a brutal season. I didn't think she ever got her footing whatsoever. And why? Abby Maria, because Abby Maria has a sign on her. It's like, don't touch the stove. It's hot. And PG was the person who ran over and said, don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it. And she touched it repeatedly. Over and over and over again. Hey, this food is disgusting. You want to taste it? Sure, why not? You know what? Anyone who was going to be playing the game with Abby should have anticipated this. And yet, here it is, an otherwise intelligent, savvy woman who brings herself down into these depths over and over and over again. And it cost her the game big time. And I feel like she should have known way better than to engage in these dramatic sort of nothing fights over and over again. You're not getting wet in the shelter. It's like, is this really what you need to be saying right now? I just don't understand. I don't see where her game was. But obviously, this tribe went completely off the rails. The fact that Savage and Tasha not only are safe, but they're actually the decision makers. This was putrid playing by the 4 people who had come together from the same tribe. There is no excuse for Savage not going home this week, and I think this is going to be a huge mistake in their games.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting point that you bring up, Eric, because this isn't these guys' first rodeo. They've played this game before. Each person is here for their second chance. That's the title of the season, and all of them make this error here. Is that just because all of these other guys, it's so volatile that with Woo and Varner, Abby Maria, and PG, that's to blame for the whole situation? Or is it just that Tasha and Savage are just that good?
I think it's very short-sighted is what it is. So I think that you have sort of this game of hot potato going on. We have the ultimate Sandra Diaz Twine experience. As long as it is anybody but me, fine, I'm on board with it. Right. So, but the fact of the matter is they should have never let it get to that point. There's several events that led up to this week. Obviously, Varner's little mishap, excellent gameplay from Tasha, I think. But I think what we have here is just a failure to thrive. There should have been no questions asked. They had the numbers. Even if these aren't going to be their 4 to the end of the game, you get out the threat this week. I mean, there's just, you have only so many opportunities to get people out before, especially because they're going to get back to their people, right? So you have Savage and Tasha out, man, get them out. Then worry about the nuisance from your own tribe that you don't like. It makes no sense. Survivor is pretty much a pure numbers game. And I think this season more so than ever, because no one's going to fall for the schmoozing social bullshit. They all know each other. They know each other's games. So, you know, Savage can tell us about his I love my wife over and over again. But the fact of the matter is, if I'm sitting there, I don't give a crap. I know who's who in this scenario. I just think it's inexcusable that you have your foot on someone's neck. You put them out. You don't let them back in, let alone leave your fate in their hands.
Yeah, that just boggles my mind. And Andrew Savage just it just keeps. I mean, hey, he's got a hot. Did you hear he has a hot wife, Eric? Did you hear about that? That's
a millionaire too. Very relatable. Super relatable. I mean, I don't understand. If anything, I'm not one for throwing competitions, but when you have these 4-2 splits on the tribe, this seems like a ripe opportunity, and they didn't even need to do it. Just vote him out, and that's the end of it. You know, and I mean, we have to break this down, you know, aspect by aspect, but in the greater scheme of things, just a terrible performance by the four who came over together. It was truly piss poor. I don't believe in leaving my fate in other people's hands. As you well know,
yes.
Not a good idea in the game. So the fact of the matter is, it might not be your ideal scenario, but if it's in your power, take it and then figure it out the next day. You know, this was not the time to start pitting each other against each other. And I think that a lot of this was Varner's mishap, because he would have been the one who was the cohesive glue to say, get a grip, guys, vote these people out. And we actually had Wu as the voice of reason, who's telling us, let's not do anything stupid here. And he's 100% correct. But then as soon as Varner's name was mentioned, it became anyone but me. And he's simply a better player than Abby and PG. So he scrambled, he shuffled, he put them ever so slightly below him. And this is what we ended up with. But this should have never happened in the first place.
You know, when Wu is the voice of reason, that things are going swimmingly for your tribe. Now, Eric, what do you think about this move by Jeff Varner? I mean, he has this crazy thing where he's trying to mouth something. We don't know what it is. It seems like on a rewatch, it looks like he's mouthing something to Kelly Wigglesworth, saying Monica and Kimmy. I'm not quite sure what he's even trying to say. Did you come up with any reason as to why Jeff Varner would have done that in that spot?
I mean, I think by nature, he's a tad bit overzealous, but I think it was actually his reaction that was the problem. I think that he panicked and he got very flustered in the moment. I think if he had simply said, Tasha, I'm not a rat. I'm being loyal to the people I care about in this game. You're not one of them, and neither is Savage. You're outnumbered on this tribe. I'm going to get back to these people. I'm going to play the game with these people, and I'm helping these people because I want to see them the next time that I show up at a competition. And Tasha, I don't want to see you. So you can call me a rat all you want, but I'm not in your family. But everyone is really afraid to take a bold stance this season, which is surprising to me. But it's just, you know, you want the eyes off you. So it's a game of misdirection and just shuffling, you know, ooh, not me. So I think that Jeff should have just flat out owned it and said, sorry, Tasha, you got a raw end of this tribe restructuring. And I'm not trying to better your game. I'm trying to better my game. And then what's she going to say? She could say, well, that's not cool, but it doesn't matter because he would have been outnumbered. But then he starts retreating, justifying, and it makes him look super sketchy and paranoid, which starts the wheels going, I think, and really gave them the crack that they needed. But I must say, Tasha, A+ game this week. I think she's been really solid from the beginning. She's one of the only people who's so far documented that she actually took lessons and experiences from her first time and is applying them forward. And what you're seeing from Tasha, and to an extent Spencer also, is that they're not panicking because they've been up against it before. Whereas you see the panic in Jeff Varner's eyes when he's put on the spot. You know, it's just, he's fast with his words. He can talk his way out of it. But Tasha, in this game, she said everything you'd want to hear from her. Every confessional, every game point was exactly on point. This is someone who's dangerous in this game.
Yeah, Eric, and that's a really good point that you brought up. Do you think that the fact that it's just been so long for Varner, I mean, this guy hasn't played Survivor in 15 years, and then you look at someone like a Tasha, like a Spencer, like a Wu, do you think it's a big advantage for these people that have been on recent seasons that have only had a short amount of years, or not even a year for some of these people, between playing time? Do you think that's really helping these people?
Absolutely. I think that that's a huge storyline this season, is that what I think we're going to find is, and right now we're seeing hesitancy, but I think it's going to go in the other direction. I think you're going to find faster gameplay, quicker blindsides, a no trust whatsoever amongst even people who are personal friends in real life, because these are people who have chewed this over for a very long time, anywhere from a year to 15 years. And these are people who are chomping at the bit. And that's why it's a brilliant casting play, because these aren't your run-of-the-mill people. These are the people who have been stewing about it, right? And if I'm on this type of season, my gut instinct is going to immediately be to, if someone looks at me the wrong way, I will rather get rid of them 3 weeks early than wait way too long. And I think that, I think for someone like Jeff, who's been really wanting this opportunity for a long time, didn't think he was going to have it, and now does, he's coming out of the gates frantic. And you know what? Great player, great TV, deserving of a second chance, really enjoying him. I don't see him having the long game in him because he's beside himself. And what you are seeing from some of those more recent people is a little bit steadier. They're more settled in. I mean, even the Keiths and the Woos, they're just solid. They're just there. And, you know, it's a real roller coaster for Jeff right now. And I do think that it's a drawback. I think another thing, though, that we're seeing early on is sort of, although I think it's laughable, but the dynamic that you were describing in having watched my season and, you know, having that sort of we see players who have a reverence towards the older players.
Yes.
And I would have had that as well. If I played with Will, I would have felt that way when I was on my initial season. But I'm actually shocked that Savage and Terry and Jeff came out with such strong presence in Seer, because they were outnumbered. They could have easily just been blitzed by the newbies. But instead, what we see is people who are showing them respect, and they're deferring to them in the early goings, at least. You know, so I think that it's a completely different dynamic than any normal season. You know, these are people who have a huge chip on their shoulder, and 19 of them are basically just going to relive the same nightmare they lived the first time. So that's why you get okay, I don't really want PG out, but PG's not me. So I guess I'm going to roll with that for right now. I think you're just seeing people trying to desperately hang on for one more day, basically.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think that you talked about earlier, this is kind of just a Sandra Diaz Twine kind of season. That's maybe what the season should have been called, Survivor Sandra Diaz Twine, because really, yeah, everybody has that same mindset of, hey, well, as long as it's not me, then I don't really mind if that person goes home. Now, you brought up a good point here, and that's something interesting with the reverence to the older players. And yes, if, for example, if I was playing Big Brother with you or some people from the seasons I watched growing up, I would probably, again, I would volunteer to go on the block again for you, because I would love you guys so much. Although I'm a little bit of an interesting case because I'm such a huge fan of this show. Now, with this season, we're seeing that respect being shown to these people, like you talked about. But somebody who is, and you just mentioned this, that is in a little bit of hot water moving forward, and I think isn't made really, as of right now, it doesn't look like he's set for the long run, is Jeff Varner. Next week, we saw the preview for next time on Survivor, and basically Angkor is falling apart, similar to the Brains tribe in Survivor Cagayan, the Matt Singh tribe in Survivor Philippines, and Rupert's tribe in Survivor All Stars, with the shelter,
the underground trenching.
Yes,
that didn't pan out.
Oh, poor Rupert. But this tribe is going to be a disaster. It's going to be utter chaos. I think if there's Vegas odds for this Angkor losing going to tribal council next week, it's, I don't know, 1 to 1.0001. Like, I think it's so clear that this tribe is going to be going to tribal council again, just based on the setup they have with Abby Maria, with Jeff Varner having to play in these challenges, people that aren't so strong. So, Eric, do you think that it's too bad, so sad for Jeff Varner next week? Do you think he's also going to get his torch snuffed, or do you think that he's going to find his way out of this thing?
I don't. I think he's going to find his way out of it. Here's the thing. So Jeff is like the living embodiment of second chances, right? This guy's having fun with it, and it's fun for the viewers. And he's working harder than the other players. The reason that he didn't go home this week is because he worked harder. He's more affable. He's just a flat out better player than PG is. There's just nothing to be said, and that's how you get the result. I would not be that surprised to see him come back together with Wu and Abby. I think that his gameplay in this particular vote was just saving his own hide. I think now he's the type of person, okay, I have a little bit of breathing room. Let me try this again. And he's going to keep trying it. And I don't think he's long for the game per se. But I mean, the problem with Jeff is he gives off an untrustworthy vibe. If you watch him do it to other people, you know he's going to do it to you. Another thing is on a returning season is you have people who think like you. So I know I'm going to screw Jeff. So I know he's going to screw me. That's the problem, is that you're sitting there thinking, well, okay, I know that if we make it 8 weeks from now, he's on my hit list. So if I'm going to be on his, I better get him 5 weeks from now, not 8 weeks from now. So I think that he's just not going to inspire enough levelness and steadiness in people. So I do think he's going to be in trouble. But again, this whole week, I mean, it was purely insanity to me. They have PG saying that you shouldn't really trust people who are in desperate situations. That's correct. You have Wu saying, let's not do something stupid. That's correct. But yet, where do we find ourselves? And it's just being weak-minded, honestly. It really is. I mean, even from their perspective of just even the challenges, it seems plainly obvious that Savage was one of the leaders of the other tribe. So why not just do that now? You know, I just don't understand what it is that they're waiting for. And it's weird because they spoke of Jeff's emotional meltdown. We didn't get to really see that on the episode. We saw him sort of justify his actions and move on. So are we to imply or infer that this was like a 20-minute like disaster at the challenge that he had? Like, did he really have a meltdown, or did he just make like a little slip up for 5 seconds?
Yeah. Why do you think they didn't show this meltdown that Jeff referred to, Eric? Do you think that just did? Because I feel like they would find time for something like that. No.
My only thoughts are he either didn't have a meltdown, or it was like absolutely, like the viewers would turn on him entirely. He's cursing, he's weeping, he's throwing things. We didn't want to paint him in that light, so we'll just allude to it moving forward. One of the gameplay moves, and this kind of just speaks to what we're already talking about, I feel like Jeff should have brought Wu in on this vote. Say, hey, listen, man, it's not going your way, but I want to work with you. I want to have trust with you. I think he leaves Wu hanging out there, so that way there's another person below him on the totem pole. It's another week of, oh, okay, we got Wu to get rid of. But that was a mistake. I really feel like he needs any assurances he can get. I don't see how you can go from what is plainly position 1 out of 6 on your tribe to like the rock bottom so quickly. So that's why I don't like what he's been doing. And yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Abby is obviously the source of all of her tribe's issues so far. And I don't know if there was anyone on your season that you feel this way about, but it's a fascinating case study because I'm a very logical thinker, and I can't get in the headspace of an Abby. I couldn't get in the headspace to toss the BB references in of Amber on my season. A player like Lydia is someone who falls into this category. And the problem is, if you're a strategic mind and a logical thinker, you can't possibly imagine what Abby's going to do in any situation. And these wild cards are so dangerous because we've already seen her flip on the vote many, many times. She's extremely volatile. She's loyal, but until she feels like you've wronged her, which could be like you sneezed in the wrong direction and then you've wronged her and then she's not loyal anymore. And it's turning into a disaster for anyone who's putting their faith in her. And I would way rather someone who's stabbing me in the front than stabbing me in the back. And I feel like as long as she stays there, it's toxic poison to the people who are involving her in their gameplay. I mean, I would just steer clear. But the problem is, especially now that they have 5 people on their tribe, her number is extremely valuable, but they've created this situation for themselves.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that you brought up, Eric. And I think for me personally, yeah, like on my season, there was a girl named Cindy with an S who voted me out, who was all over the map, and I could never get inside of her head. Even spending time in the jury house with her talking about the game, I couldn't figure out where her mindset was at. So yeah, it's tough being in this situation. And I feel like when you're in that spot, you vote them out, right? Is that not the right move, Eric? Like for you, you dealt with, and I got a question here from the patrons of Rob as a podcast, and it was from Matt Holtzclaw, and he said, Abby Maria is a volatile player like Evil Dick from your season. How do you play with someone like that? Now, Evil Dick is much more strategic, and it's not really fair to Evil Dick to probably put him in that category, but in terms of dealing with somebody who can blow up at any moment like that, how do you play with someone like that?
Right. Well, I think Dick undoubtedly was a much higher tier player, and he was in some regards transparent because he would blow up, but you knew he was going to blow up. Whereas Abby, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. So that's where you and the fact of the matter is the way that you deal with them is get rid of them. Exactly what you said. There's no because like for example, I was very well prepared going into my season, but Amber, she does not see the world through my eyes. And that's not saying that there's a correct way or an incorrect way, but we were never going to connect. So, Abby can bond with people and she can make you feel like, oh, this is someone I can use because I just put in the work and she's an extra vote and she's a goat. No, because she's not. I mean, she really has no concept of the game. She said, she'll blurt out, I know I'm at the bottom with you, PG and Woo. So I'm not going to vote with you guys. Does she think she's not at the bottom with Savage and Tasha? Like she's number one in their alliance? I never understand this. And it's very similar to Cochran on his first season where his tribe made him feel unwelcome. So what he did was a move that screwed everyone, himself included. Now he was screwed either way. He decided I'm going to bring 6 other people down with me or however many it was. And that's what basically Abby's saying is, hey, you made me feel unwelcome. I'm going to just ruin all of our games. And I'm going to outlast you now, but it's not going to do her any good. She's just going to, what's she going to do? Realign with the previous tribe and be the 9th person in a 9-person alliance? It's not. So I think the only way you handle her is be very, very nice to her, walk on eggshells, and vote her out as soon as possible. And you feel like it's a waste of a vote because it's not a good player, but it clears the deck of the mess that she can cause. I would way rather say, oh my God, Savage is really dangerous, but I know what he's trying to accomplish. Don't know what Abby's trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's a really fair point. That's a great point. And I think that, when you're playing, and especially on this season, I think that there's a lot of people who at least everyone for the most part understands the game and thinks about it logically. I guess you can't say everyone, but for the most part, when you have returning players, you're going to run into that. And why not get rid of Abby at that point? Now, with this situation we have, Eric, I feel like what they can't get rid of her though, right? I mean, she's part of for Tasha and Savage. I mean, they pulled in. I mean, I guess could you see? What do you think Jeff Varner is going to do here? Is he going to try and pull in Abby and say, "Hey guys, let's get rid of Woo alongside Tasha and Savage," or is he going to grab Woo with Abby and say, "Hey guys, let's go after Tasha and Savage"? Like, what's going to happen here? Because this is just a complete and utter mess at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it feels on the surface like it's 2-2 and her in the middle. But it's hard to say because how does Woo feel? Varner now left him out of deals, left him out of votes, this and that. And, it's a good case study. If someone is in the game still, they're in the game still. We talk about this every time I come on the Big Brother podcast. And Steve, we talked about it when I was on the Big Brother podcast this time. Steve was one of these players. He came in a room, great, Steve, get out of here. Nobody cares. You should care. They're in the game. They have a vote. They have a say. This is another human being. Don't be dismissive of people. It's a really arrogant way of playing the game, and it's a big mistake. And I'm wondering, has Varner done this one too many times now? Is he? So, but also, I do, like I said earlier, I think that his motivation was solely to stay in the game, and I do think he has the chops to re-rally the troops here. I mean, certainly from a logical standpoint, getting rid of Savage is still the correct move for the majority of that tribe. Whether or not he can, get them on the same page, I really don't know. And I do agree, they'll probably go back to tribal. We've spent a ton of time with these players to the extent that we haven't even heard, half the cast really speak at all. We don't even know where they stand in the game. So it is interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see it play out. And honestly, whoever can tame, secure, and rally Abby for even one more vote, kudos to them. Whoever does that out of Varner or Savage, they're playing a better game. And that'll be very telling to us at that point.
Now, we'll wrap things up with the great Angkor tribe with this thought, Eric, and that is, we talked about Abby, and she's going to be at the forefront, I'm sure, for a lot of Survivor discussions within the next little while here. Do you think if she manages to get through this next vote, which I personally think she's going to, do you think we could end up in a situation, you said, yeah, well, for Abby, yeah, she's going to screw over her own tribe to get to the merge and finish 9th out of 9. But do you really think if she makes the merge and there's 9 people left in the game and you see there's 8 people and you see Abby Maria sitting there, do you really think they're going to vote out Abby? Because personally, I feel like she's somebody that is going to become very attractive for people to want to drag to the end.
I think what we're going to see time and time again is people think she's attractive and then play with her and then realize what a liability she really is. The problem is she's really not dead weight. She's an actual problem. And that's why I don't think we're going to see her goaded all the way to the end of the game, because I just think she's going to be given chance after chance after chance. And then eventually someone's going to say, guys, I know that this is not in the best interest of our numbers, or I know I can beat her in a vote, but I just can't have this here anymore, because you want to rid of the question marks. I think that's what it comes down to. I think eventually she's just too big of a wild card. She simply cannot contain herself. It's why she's a brilliant casting. If I was going to go through the recent seasons of people I would love to see and deserve to play again from an entertainment standpoint, she was at the very top of the list. And for this very reason, she'll never be boring. If she goes out 5th, she gave you every bang for her buck for those 5 weeks. And that's all that matters. But she's not a player. And she's never going to be a player. She'll never be in the majority. And I don't see her as being draggable because she's an actual liability.
And was Dan Foley number 2 on that entertainment ranking, Eric?
Yes, I'm shocked that he's not back. Absolutely. There's a couple people, though, who slipped through the cracks through the years, and you don't know if it's a production issue or they're just so forgotten through the years. But there was definitely people that I was surprised to not see in the mix or would have liked to see in the mix. I think I might be the only Survivor fan who feels this way, but I really wanted to see Dreams play again on this season. I mean, he stole a car from Galman on the show. That is worthy. That's a villain right there. And also, I mean, obviously, I look at it a little bit differently. I've had the pleasure of meeting these people, but I know, obviously, Shane's a big Rob as a podcast. He has a huge following here. He would have been great. And I'm in a small camp, but I would have loved to see Troy Zan play. Why? Because I like seeing people who have different styles of play. I don't want to watch 12 of the same people playing the game. That's interesting to me, but the Abbies and the Woos and the Keiths, they actually bring a totally different dynamic to the game because they're not playing the same way. And I feel like Troy Zan's like aggressiveness and his style would have been entertaining even if he didn't win. I also would have loved to see Stephanie Valencia. She is probably one of the number 1 firecrackers from the entire Survivor community. And same thing, whether she went far or didn't go far, she would have been worthwhile to have out there. So I was a little disappointed that some people didn't make it through, but I think obviously it's a great group nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. I think you could have made 2 seasons. They could have had Survivor Second Chances 1, filmed that, and then done Survivor Second Chances 2 and done that one for the spring. And then that way we don't have to watch Beast Mode Cowboy play Survivor next February. But yeah, that's some really good points, Eric. I think that I would agree with you for most of those people. Fun fact, Kevin Martin and I from Big Brother Canada 3, for the first week of Jury House, we used to play basketball every day, and we used to just talk about how great Dreams was all the time and how we wanted to see him play again, steal more things.
Yeah, exactly. People slip through the cracks, I guess, after years. And as we saw in this vote, the people who are sort of in the middle seasons did not really fare all that well. But, it's interesting because like someone like a Woo, right? He's a totally different type of player. He thrived in competitions. He is very steady. He's friendly. He's helpful to your tribe. He's known for making one big mistake, but he still made it to the end of the game. And I think you're seeing now, it's like you have certain players here where it's like people come, they show up and they're saying, I want to get out so-and-so. This person's a threat to me. I need to get rid of this person. No one's going to say that about Woo. That's what it really comes down to. He's not on the top of your hit list. And that's a good position to be in a returning season. If you have the worst thing that these players can do is fight each other and then let the other people pick up the scraps, just fight right over their heads and let them lay back. They should be picking off the perceived nothings. But instead, what you're going to have is the alpha dogs fight each other, and some of the lesser known players I think are going to be there at the end to just sort of pick up the pieces.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And Rob and I actually talked about this morning on This Week in RHAP, if you guys want to check out that podcast. But yeah, this idea of aligning with big threats and picking off these people that are nothings, because if you're a big threat, that's the way to go. Because if you don't surround yourself with those kind of people, if you do go head to head, then like you said, the Woos, the Kimi Kappenbergs, these other people are going to pick up the scraps, and then they'll be there at the end, and one of those guys is going to end up winning the game. Now, this is another question I wanted to ask you, Eric, and let's jump into some other, before we get into the tribe swap, I want to ask you about this idea of Jeremy and Joe doing this, because they kind of had this bro alliance with Savage before we had the tribe dissolve. Do you think that they were kind of thinking with this mindset? Do you think that's something that's going to last when they join back up, whether that's at the merge or when they go back down to two tribes?
No, I mean, it's very surprising to me that Joe is being so far celebrated by his fellow castmates and not an obvious threat. Yes, I understand he can be an asset to your initial challenges and your initial camp life, but that's not enough for me. I'd rather just starve to death and vote out Joe, because once he settles into the game, he's going to become a real problem to get rid of. And he's such an easy person to push to the front of the line. I think what we're talking about is it's the leftovers versus like the obvious threats and candidates. So to me, if you're not Joe and Jeremy, you say, oh, these are the alpha dogs from the recent seasons. We've seen what they can do. They're so easy to scapegoat. You go to the weaker players, the older players, and say, oh, they've got a thing going on, and you push them to the front of the line. But instead, what we're seeing is all hail King Joe. But I think that a lot of this is bullshit, because it's still 3 votes in. Right. So it's all hail King Joe until the 7th vote, and then they're not. So I don't think it's going to last. I do think that they'll go after each other. And I think also the obvious elephant in the room on this season is, what are the pre-alliances? Who is truly in with who? And I understand that them not wanting to weave this into the narrative that's very confusing for a casual fan. But that's the big question mark here is, do these tribes even mean anything? You know, when we realign, and who, or is that why they're also hell-bent on just making it through another day, because they're really trying to get back to their actual alliance?
Yeah, and that's, again, I really like this point. The pre-game alliances, do you think that this is a legit thing? Because, I mean, we saw on Fans versus Favorites, you're friends with Francesca, right? Or you're familiar with her?
I am friends with her, absolutely.
Yeah. And before that season, there were some pre-game alliances going on before Karamoan, and Franny was involved in those. And then she shows up to the beach on day 1, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, wait, this isn't legit. And then they voted her out. So do you think that they can work? Has there been an example of pre-game alliances working on a season of Survivor or Big Brother before?
I think the obvious example is Chilltown.
True. Okay. Other than that.
Yeah. But, you know, there's different levels of it, right? I was on this person's season. I was in alliance with them. On Big Brother, we see playing with your spouse or father or whatever the case may be. You know, there's different levels of loyalty. I think, Fran is an excellent case where you feel like you have this locked down. And I think you can only take people's word in so much as, you know, to a certain extent. Okay, yeah, maybe for a few more weeks, you know. And I think, but at the same time, some of it has to be there. I've attended fellow Big Brother cast members' weddings. And the fact of the matter is, it's still real life. You need to trust people. And why would I want to screw my own friends? I know my friends need money. I know what my friends can do in the game. Right? So I'm not going to go into a returning season with the intention of screwing my friends. It's just natural, what inherently would be the any player. So they may not want to talk about this. They may want to frame it however they want. But the fact of the matter is, there are people there with real bonds. Whether the viewers ever get to see this or not, doesn't matter. We're going to see it later in the game. And that's why a Jeremy and a Joe, it's meaningless, because that's fluff. That's not their real alliance, right? And I think that, you know, it's interesting because you have the people who return from the same season, but they might not necessarily be aligned. you know, obviously the example is Spencer, Tasha, Wu, Cass. Some of these people hate each other, some like each other, some are indifferent, but it puts a target on them because it's still numbers. People can only see things in black and white, really, so it's like, well, there's 4 of them. Don't want them to get to the merge together. You know, whether they're friends or not, you know?
No, for sure. Whether that's Survivor Cagayan people, whether that's season 6 people of Big Brother, whatever. I mean, it's definitely a thing. And I feel like, I mean, I personally I haven't gone back to play a season. I probably will never go back to play a season, but I know if I were to go back, that for sure would be in the back of my mind, people that I played with. And I'm sure, Eric, for you too, I think that if you were to go back, if you were playing, unless you were playing with like Kale and Mike Dutz, I think that that would be a thing for you, right?
Well, if nothing else, it's the devil you know. That's the thing. It's at least you understand where they're coming from, even if they're not a close friend or an alliance person. It's just a known commodity. So yeah, I do think that, and I think I'm sure that this has been discussed a lot on the podcast, but I've got big eyes on Jeremy, Keith, and Kelly Wentworth. Why? Because they're all individually in good positions, and I don't see any known problems between them. So whether or not they're the best of friends in real life, if they're all sitting there, they're all doing reasonably well on their own, and then they combine powers, these are people who could be sort of under the radar people, but there's 3 of them. And I think that that's a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage that Steven and Monica and so many of these other people do not have. They, you know, and I really think that that's a huge part of how this is going to ultimately play out down the road. I just think we haven't gotten to that part yet, you know, where you need Survivor is purely a game of numbers. And I don't know if you've ever went to like a bar mitzvah when you were younger or something like that, right? There's this game Huggy Bear, right? And let's say there's a group of 20 people playing. They yell out Huggy Bear 7, and you need to grab on to a group of 7 people. So you have group of 7, and 6 people are out. Sort of like a giant game of musical chairs.
Yes.
To me, that's what Survivor is. Survivor is one giant game of Huggy Bear, and it's just, okay, I see where I can make a majority. I'm grabbing onto them. Don't care who they are, why they are, how I know them. If we have more numbers than you, that's all I care about.
Yeah, no, that's a wow, early candidate for a hashtag for this episode, Huggy Bear. But no, that's a really that's a good point, Eric. I have, for the record, I have never been to a bar mitzvah because
if I have an adult bar mitzvah, you're first on the list.
Oh, thanks, Eric.
I could use the presents to pay my rent this month. So.
Well, maybe what if there's a Mrs. Eric Stein in the near future, and then you have a young child, and then what about that? Could I come to your kid's bar mitzvah if you ever have a kid?
I'm not a very religious person. There probably won't be one. I'm only in it for the gifts. You know, when I was 13, I didn't really have any say in the matter. Now I'm a little more involved in the decision making.
So, how was your bar mitzvah, Eric? Did you enjoy it? Was it fun?
It was an underwater theme. I had a giant balloon octopus that was also doubled as a piñata filled with candy. So I speared it. There was live goldfish as the centerpieces. It actually was a pretty good time. I was about 2'9" at the time. All the girls there were already full grown. You know, it's proud day of becoming a man, indeed.
So you were a late bloomer in terms of your growth, even though you're not the tallest. Yeah, how tall are you, Eric? For the record, if you don't mind me asking.
I am a solid 5'7". I really am.
Okay, so that's not bad.
You see, this is one of this is crap. On my season, Zach, Joe, Mike, and Nick were all 6'3" to 6'5". And then Dick and Dustin were like 6 foot, 6'1". So there was nobody. Like if I was on with Russell Caruso and Jeff Schroeder, everyone would think I was perfectly normal sized. They were gigantic. Although I was thrilled about that because it made it very easy to undermine their games. Because I simply just went to the girls like, we can't beat these guys in the competitions, vote them out. And then Mike and Nick went in back-to-back weeks. So I'll take it. But I'm short, but I'm not like, I'm not miniature. I'm just a normal short man.
You're not in the Russell Hantz zone.
I have met Russell before. I've got a few inches on him.
Yeah, I was talking to Alec Beal. I asked him about how tall Russell was, about the legends of Russell Hantz, if he had any, and he said, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, he's down there." So, but as a fellow, I'm 5'9" on a good day, Eric. So
All right.
I'm
Hey.
with you. We're in the same ballpark in terms of height, and for me, like I got a luxury that you didn't have is that all the guys on my season were. I mean, there was like Zach on my season was like 6'5", but other than that, pretty much everyone was about like 6 foot, and there was a couple of shorter guys. So I lucked out in that sense. I've had several. Most of the first reaction to most people when they meet me is, "Wow, you're a lot shorter than I thought you would be." So
That's good. I always get I feel as if I like you more than I expected to, which is like the ultimate backhanded compliment. It's like, you're not exactly what I was thinking. I was like, but what were you thinking? Well, we don't need to get into that, you know?
Yeah, it's okay. I get a little bit of that too, because it happens, Eric. It happens. Editing, don't feel bad. Do you still get recognized, by the way, ever on the street?
I very rarely did, because living in New York, there's like real
Right.
celebrities here, so no one cares. Although in New York, we have like this, as it's often referred to, we have this huge reality community. So we have bachelors and probably 15 survivors and 10 Big Brother people and this and that. So it is a little tricky. If there's a bunch of us together, we'll get recognized. But me, myself, no one can give a shit. Come on. Even if they recognize me, they would still not speak to me. They would just be like, "Ugh, there's that guy. Terrible." That's rough.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that in a couple years. I pretty much already have that anyway. Unless I'm with the Ginger Ninja, then it's different. I tend to get recognized more when I'm with him.
He brings a crowd with him.
Oh yeah. Or we'll walk into a bar and be like, "Hey, anybody watch Big Brother?" And then
that'll do it. See, the thing is, I mean, like, I don't want to be recognized. That's exactly it. So I'm perfectly fine with it not happening.
Oh, there you go. No, it's interesting. Certain people love it. Certain people hate it. People in between. I'm kind of, I like it. I think it's okay, but I don't go Ginger Ninja 604 Propa and announce it when I walk into a place, because I'm not that comfortable with myself, but maybe someday, Eric. Now let's jump into the tribes that we saw with the swap here. And there was 3 new tribes. We Bayon and Tequo split into 3. So now we have Bayon, Tequo. We talked about Angkor already. So let's talk about the Bayon tribe and the Tequo tribe. So Bayon, we have Stephen Fishbach, Jeremy Collins, Spencer Bledsoe, Kimmy Kappenberg, Monica Padilla, and Kelly Wigglesworth. Eric, of these 6 people, who got the best draw?
Yeah, I feel like Spencer is the one who made out the best from this situation. He was plainly in danger on his tribe. Spencer is a good player. I have met Spencer a handful of times. He is a smart, sharp, cool, nice guy. I like Spencer. And I feel like for certain players, there's really only 2 outcomes. All right. You're either going to be first 5 out or in the final 5. And I think that is a big part of returning seasons. I think there are a lot of players who kind of fit into that camp, and it's not a literal in terms of numbers. It's just that if you get your footing in the game, you're going way deep in this game. But are you going to ever get your footing? And Spencer is one of those question marks. And he was in a situation where he plainly was not getting his footing. That was not happening for him. And now he has a fighting chance on this. He obviously knows Steven reasonably well in real life. So he's gaining someone who at least he has some level of understanding with, or camaraderie or trust. So I definitely think that he's the one who's benefiting from this the most. I think this was definitely the right thing to do from a show standpoint, because it prevents number hoarding. There's been a lot of recent, not really the last bunch, but maybe prior to the last 5 seasons, there was a lot of seasons that you knew the outcome from 3 episodes in. So this prevents numbers hoarding. This is going to keep people away from, whether it be their new alliances, their perceived alliances, their pre-alliances. But I also think there is a shitty element to this, because if you're Savage and he made it through, but you're playing the game really well and you're well situated on your tribe, and then just by pure fluke and happenstance, you end up outnumbered on your new tribe, that's a bad way to lose Survivor. It's an inherent part of it, but man, would I be depressed if I was doing everything right and then just ended up in one of those scenarios. So it's frustrating for me to watch. I think on the new Bayonne, the most interesting storyline is Steven, because suddenly we're hearing him say that he's really content with where he is. But if I were in his shoes, I'm not going to be excited that now I'm in the majority, but with a group that I knew I'm in the minority of, if that makes any sense. He was still the low man on the totem pole in that group. And he seems to be okay with the fact that he's the low man in this new majority because he's not the low man anymore. Now there's people below him. But to me, on this tribe, perfect opportunity for a reshuffling of the deck. And if I were, it was right, Spencer and Wigglesworth, right, who are coming over on this tribe. Okay, seems like a real opportunity for Steven to grab a Monica or maybe Kimmy or whatever and get a new foursome and punt Jeremy. So I was very surprised to see Jeremy and Spencer. We're seeing this scene with them having this bond. And it seems like people are crawling up the ass of power so far this season and say, oh, yes, please tell me what to do, Jeremy, and I'm going to make sure Jeremy likes me. And I don't get it. I would rather throw that immunity challenge and vote Jeremy out, because this may be my only chance to get him before he gets back with his other 30 Alliance members that he has. I don't need to be his 31st Alliance member. That doesn't do me any good. And so I feel like I'm wondering why. And I think it may just be because they haven't lost yet and we haven't really gotten to hear what's really going on with the strategy. But is Steven really now content with where he lays? Is Spencer really just going to try and join the numbers here? Or are we about to see a flip happening on this tribe?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I agree with you. I think that if Steven, because he was in a really bad spot, things were not looking good for your Reality Game Masters co-star here, and I was concerned for Steven a lot. Now it looks a little better now, but with Jeremy finding that idol, with, like you said, everybody jumping to the power, that bro alliance of Andrew Savage, Joe, and Jeremy, all three of those guys seem to be in positions of power in their own tribes, and it seems as if they're just gonna jump out. Well, I mean, they're going to remain in power until there's another switch or something like that happens. So, yeah, I don't know with Steven. I think that probably should be the move, but I don't know. What do you think about Steven saying that he's been very gung-ho looking for the idol? He went in that bog in the first episode and was gone for who knows how long. And then in this episode, he was talking about having the idol as a source of team unity. What do you think about that idea and Steven trying to go the Coach Ben Wade route with the immunity idol like he did in Survivor South Pacific? That's at least the mindset that he had. Now, obviously, he didn't find the idol. Jeremy found it. Do you think that his way to go is better with just trying to bring everyone together, your alliance, and make them strong? Or do you think that what Jeremy and Kelly Wentworth are doing with not telling anyone, keeping it to themselves, do you think that is the better move?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think we're speaking to basically two separate scenarios: the idol and Steven's gameplay. As far as the idol goes, I think that they're doing the right thing. It's only valuable if people don't know about it. This is not like the Yule magic idol here. This is not. They can't. If people know you have it, the only thing it's going to do is make them want to blindside you. I don't see it as being any value. There's no such thing in, particularly on a returning season, of it having any team value. That's a load of crap. So if I had it and I could hide it, it's one thing. But in Steven's particular case, he should be doing absolutely anything to take the perception of him being sketchy or knowledgeable or dangerous out of the equation. So I feel like the scrambling is not helpful. I'm really wondering if what we're just seeing with Steven is just an edit, because I know he could be in his own head a little bit, but I do know Steven from New York. This is a really strategic, sharp guy. He must have anticipated everything that he was going to come across in this. And he may find himself with a new dynamic or something he's not. But I cannot buy into the edit that he's doing these wacky things and he's so far out of the loop and he has no idea what's going on. He might just be plainly outnumbered and there's nothing he can do about it. But he knows what's up. This is a smart guy. And yeah, he went with JT to the end of the game. Does anybody think that JT would have been there without Steven? No way in hell. Steven is clearly the one who orchestrated and laid out the framework of the strategy. Even if JT implemented it and used his charm to help enact it, Steven is the one who, created it. So he's been very interesting so far to me because he definitely has it within him to flip this at any time. But the idol play, I'm not enjoying that because I think he should be going out of his way to integrate himself and be that team player. But being the team player by running off for 6 hours to find an idol, I don't think that's sending the right message that he's trying to send.
Yeah, and if you disagree with Eric about the Steven and JT thing, just watch Survivor Heroes versus Villains and see how JT did by himself, and then come back to us. What do you think about Steve? Do you think so? We talked about being in it for the long haul. Do you think Steven has a chance? Do you think he's going to go deep, or do you think he's going to burn out here based on what we've seen so far?
You know what? I don't think he's going to last. I hope he does. I wish he would. But I don't think I've seen an infrastructure that's going to carry him there. And I think it's just a numbers issue. I think he did not fully get in on old school or new school. I don't know how true that narrative is anyway, but either way, he's falling in the middle. And of course, you know what? People say, oh, he should be able to use this to advantage. The podcast and the People blog, it's a huge detriment. It's one of the reasons, and I told you this before this podcast, that I don't like to speak openly about Big Brother, because you can't do a good job analyzing the game without being a little critical of people. But if someone was critical of my game, I'd say, why does this Steven guy get to say what I did wrong? I didn't see him win the game either. I'd be pissed. And I'd say, oh, Steven, you don't think I'm a good player? You don't think I'm a reliable player? I'll show you how unreliable and bad of a player I am. Screw you, buddy. And there have to be people there that in the back of their mind are thinking too smart, too out there, too connected, too knowledgeable. It's a lot to overcome. And he needed the alliance members to overcome it. And then even the people he would be aligned with, some of them didn't get voted in. And then let's take Steven and Spencer. Perfect example of this, right? It's what we were talking about before. They know each other's game. So they could be best of buds, but they can only trust each other to a certain extent because it's just who's getting who first. And that's not the type of alliance you're looking for. It breeds paranoia. It's going to make both of you sloppy and fixated on the wrong things. So I have a hard time finding Steven's numbers. He's really smart. He's really savvy, and he knows this game really well. He's a likable guy. I've hung out with him before. But how is that going to happen in this group, in this configuration right now? I could envision tons of Survivor seasons where he goes straight to the top. But I would have been scared shitless playing against him. You know, this is the type of guy who would strategize a game of Mario Kart and defeat you. So I just think
has Steven done that before with you, Eric?
No, but I know he would. But I do. What I really feel like it comes down to is why are the other people going to even take the chance with it? You know, it's similar to Vetus. It's just you know what? Too good, too dangerous, and not my number one. So why leave him there? And I don't know. Do you see a power structure? Or whether it be on this current tribe or in the game of how we get Steven further in the game?
I don't think so, Eric. I think that, and honestly, just with this configuration, like you said, I kind of think Steven that was almost drawing dead from the beginning. I think and not only you brought up that people could be choked about Steven being or analyzing their games and all that sort of stuff, but also, I think a lot of people like Andrew Savage view Steven as very threatening because he has analyzed this game. He studied this game, and it's been on the record, most of this stuff. So they've seen what he said. They know he's a very cerebral individual, and that is incredibly threatening. So yeah, why not get rid of him in that scenario? I think for Steven, I just think that his best case scenario would be if for whatever reason Jeremy and your Jeremys, your Joes, your Andrew Savages, your Terry Deets, those guys, if they somehow get into some sort of conflict and they kind of forget about Steven off to the side. But I don't really see that happening. I think they all realize, hey, let's look, all of us right here, we're all strong guys, we're all good at challenges, we like to work hard in camp, all this kind of stuff. what is that guy? Well, look at that guy over there. Oh, that's Steven. Oh, well, he's kind of strong like us. Oh, and actually he's really smart and probably a lot more intelligent than all of us combined. So yeah, that's very threatening. Let's get rid of him. So I kind of feel like that is what's going to happen to Steven. And I just think regardless, he's in hot water. I think the same, I mean, as much as I love him to death, I think the exact same thing would happen to Rob Sesternino if he went back to Survivor. I really think that he would be in tough unless he was playing with a bunch of fans or something. Would you agree with that, Eric?
Yeah, he's a two outcomes type of guy. He's either going out right away or going to the end, like Boston Rob's fourth time or whatever. It's either a season that's gift wrap for Rob, or he's going out right away. I think it's the only two scenarios. And I think with Steven, his best case scenario is to rally up some of the leftovers, be the king of the Kimmies and the Monicas. But I have not seen anything yet that speaks to the fact that he'd be the one to do that on this season, or that he'd have the charisma or the leadership to be the one to do that on this season. I'm not seeing it. So I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing it. And it's interesting because one of the big undercurrents this season has been the getting to know people and the fireside chats and the Savage's ludicrous story and whatever else. But I don't even get this because no one wants to be the one to say this, but it's such a charade. Dude, nothing any of these people saying matters. It's not like I'd get out there. Spencer would say, hey, man, I haven't told my girlfriend I love her. And then I'd be like, now I trust this guy. He just showed me his heart right now. Are you fucking kidding me? It's so transparent. I would see this. So to me, it's all a charade. And it's like, I one time had a conversation with Dan Giesling, and it was like it spoke to that. I felt like it was just each one of us laughing on the inside, waiting to see who's going to break on this bullshit first. Just a slew of nonsense that we're feeding each other. I really is like the least genuine conversation I've ever had in my life. And I was wondering to myself, that's what I'm seeing here with Spencer, because Spencer, even in his confessional, says, I've never really taken the chance to get to know these people. And I would really like to get to know these people, ... because my game depends on it. Not because I really want to get to know these people. And people know the difference between the two. Big Brother, I think that's a much bigger part of the game. How's your grandma and how's your dog? And because you need these people. These relationships mean something later in the game. This is a much faster game, and they know each other already. So I find it very hard to believe that this season's going to be determined by the great bonds they make on the islands now. This is about the previous perceptions, and they can try and shake their reputation as much they want, but who you came into this game as is who you're going to leave this game as in the eyes of the other players. You may have this whole redemption arc going on in your mind, but the Spencer who arrived on the island is the Spencer in my mind I'm playing against, no matter how many lovely chats I have with him.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's a really good point. That's something to bring up with, Jeremy was saying, oh, I don't want to talk about Val and now she's pregnant and all this stuff because I think it's going to put a bigger target on me. I actually think that, as much as it's going to put a bigger target on him, people might just be like, yeah, so what? I don't really care. I mean, although people seem to be buying some of this kind of stuff with, Andrew Savage and all that. But yeah, that's a very excellent point with the All-Star seasons and Survivor itself. It's accelerated. These people know who they are already. It's different. With Big Brother, it's a lot. And that's the style of gameplay that something that you did. That's something I tried to do in my game, was getting to know people very well on a personal level. And I think, and when you're genuine about it's so clear when someone's being genuine about that and when someone's being disingenuous about it. I mean, it's night and day, and it's fairly obvious, but for whatever reason, these guys aren't picking up on it. Where did you see Dan Giesling, Eric?
Oh, this is a charity event many, many moons ago. many. Is he one of those, to me, in my experience, that particular time, he was someone who's playing the game outside of the game. Yeah, it was a case where I didn't feel like I do feel with so many of my other friends from these shows that we're now just in real life and enjoying ourselves. This felt like someone who was trying to game me with what he was saying. And I was like, all right, fine. And then I just started spewing complete gibberish back at him. So you should have heard my account of my season as I told it to Dan. It was on a whole other plane.
Was this was pre-14? I assume.
This is years ago. Yeah.
No. Okay. Do you mind sharing what he said?
No, because I already know what's going to happen now. Because people are going to tweet at it. Eric Stein said he's trying to deceive you, and he doesn't trust you and this and that. Then I'm going to get a text. What are you talking about, bro? And it's going to be a mess. So I've already said too much.
You've done it again, Eric.
Yeah, I'm out again. I'm out of a fictional All-Stars for the 20th time. It's fine.
Okay.
I'm just trying to accrue enemies ahead of time. No, it's interesting. What is your perception on do you think that the four who came over together on the new Bayon, whatever, however we're pronouncing it, tribe, you think that's the power structure right there, that Spencer and Wigglesworth are the two that are still on the outs for the time being?
Yeah, I think right now, well, I honestly, Eric, I don't think we're going to have to see that. We're not going to know for a while because I just think Anchor is going to keep losing. But if for whatever reason they do happen to lose here, yeah, I would say that the four is probably going to stick together. They all seem to be looking for the idol together as a unit. So although maybe those were just scenes of them individually looking for it on their own that were cut, but I feel like they kind of were just like, hey, let's look for it together. And that's why you would get all that together. But who knows? Survivor can edit things however they want to. Yeah, I would say that Wigglesworth and Spencer are probably on the outs, but I think that Wigglesworth more so just because I feel like that those four are going to, at least Steven, from his perception of things, he's going to want to keep things strong. And like, actually, let me rephrase that. I think if Steven wants to, I think they'll stick together. If the light bulb goes off and he says, wait a sec, we could get rid of Jeremy right now, then I think, hey, he's going to pick up Spencer and he's going to pick up Wigglesworth and then Monica or Kimmy, whoever he decides to, and says, hey, guess what? Let's get rid of Jeremy, and then votes him out. I just, based on the episode, I don't know if he's ready to go with that just yet, but with that pre-existing relationship with Spencer that you were talking about, and with the whole pre-alliances thing, who knows what Steven has going on, but I imagine him and Spencer have to have some sort of deal. So I'm not crazy with that, right, Eric?
No, I'm big on the one shot theory of Survivor and Big Brother eliminations. I think this may be it for your chance to get out Jeremy. So this is the time to do it. There shouldn't be any waiting around this season. I think that's the thing. There's no, now's the chance. You show up at the next challenge and Jeremy's gone and people get the message. Okay, Steven and Spencer are now the top of this pecking order. Whereas right now, they're nothing. They have no word in the game. If they go into a merge, there are another shuffler, this and that, and they got rid of Jeremy, they have people's attention and people are going to start looking at them in a different way, a way that is going to command respect and say, okay, I better start working with these guys or I'm going to be the next Jeremy. They're going to start, basically it's people's worst nightmares about Spencer and Steven if they were to get rid of Jeremy. If they let Jeremy call the shots, I think it's very detrimental to both their games. And Kelly Wigglesworth is interesting because we saw Jervis do really well on a returning season. We saw Mike Scoopin do really well. And I think that it's what we were talking about before. If I were there, I would definitely play with Jervis. And I'd 100% psyched to see Kelly Wigglesworth. I'd be like, this is ridiculous. This is amazing. I'm so excited about this. But maybe because it's a full cast of 20 who are all just dying for it, it doesn't seem like she has that sort of like Hall of Fame quality about her. It seems like she's a bit of an afterthought. One thing I thought that was interesting on this tribe, and it's actually happened on the previous tribe, is Spencer keeps really stepping up a lot in the challenges. Now, I'm sure you're going to see this my way, and I'm sure that there's two sides to the argument, but I would never, ever, 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 even if I was positively the best person to do it, step up in one of these challenges. I think you need to be out of your mind to take on one of the puzzles, to be spearing the key, because there's really only two things that can come of it. One, you mess up, and there have been several instances on Survivor where someone who cost you the challenge gets voted out as a result of it. Or two, you do a kick-ass job and paint a target on yourself for being an even bigger threat because, oh, wow, I didn't think Spencer was on Joe's level, but he just killed it in that challenge. So why do you want to be either of these people? I just put my hands up and back away from the puzzle, the keys, anything. You dutifully carry that crate right along with everybody else, and you just hope to God you don't trip and come out of the pack at all. You should want to be at the challenges like person number 8 through 12 in the cast. You don't want to be the worst. You don't want to be the best. And I don't understand why someone who knows the game well, no matter how eager or confident you are, goes out of your way to put yourself on the line in these challenges. What's there to gain?
Yeah, that's a great point, Eric. And Rob and Josh Wigler brought this up on Know-It-Alls this week, talking about how Steven keeps sitting out in the challenges. And I agree. They were saying, oh, well, why not step up if you're Steven? Because you want to put your hands in your own fate. You could be in trouble. You could get voted out. But I'm with you. I think that unless you know for a fact you are 100% going to be the person that is going home, I would never step up in that scenario because, yeah, you're asking for it. You know, you're either, yeah, you're going to screw up and it's going to be your fault, or oh, wait, wow, look at this Spencer. He's so smart doing all these puzzles. Wow. He's so valuable to his team. Like that's not good. That's very threatening. So
right.
I think for Spencer and Steven, the difference between them is that Spencer is a little bit younger. He's got some of that youthful exuberance. He's very competitive. And I think Steven is, because of his age, I think he's able to kind of just step back a little bit and say, yeah, you know what? I know I'm probably the best one of the puzzle here, but I don't need to step up because it's just not beneficial. Why would you do that? So,
right. I mean, this is obviously one of the big points of the season is are you either you are who you are, or can you make the changes? So far, I don't think we've seen a singular player who's doing anything substantially different so far. But the reason people get cast on reality shows is because they're type A personalities and they cannot contain themselves. So Spencer shows up at the competition and he competes in the competition because that's who he is. He's a fighter, he's a competitor, and he's good at it. He's absolutely good at it. But I don't see the value in showing that to people. All that says to me is, man, this guy's scary because he's friendly and he's strategic, and now he's doing well in this challenge. You know, I always, a perfect thing Big Brother has is the have-not competitions expose who's actually good at challenges.
Yes.
Because nobody wants to put themselves in that situation. So I watch people on my season who seemingly were terrible HOH and veto competitors, and then, very suspiciously, whenever we played a have-not competition, they would dominate the competition. And I don't know how this is not more transparent to other people, but Survivor doesn't have that. You know, and it's a little bit different on Survivor because you do have that group value. So if you're the one who's fishing or you solve the puzzle, you're saving all of them. So there's some level of appreciation in the short term. But in the long term, you know that the Tashas of the world, they're filing this away. I don't want to play a puzzle against Spencer at the final 5. You know, so I just, it is interesting to me. And it was interesting on, you know, the next tribe that we'll get to, that Joe and Terry's initial reaction is, oh man, we got 4 number 1 draft picks on our team. I don't think that's a good thing. Unless the goal is to get all of them out and be like, oh good, I can get rid of 4 number 1 draft picks. But if I'm on a tribe and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I got all these like sick players with me, I'd be like, okay. I don't help anything here.
Yeah, that's a good segue, Eric. Let's jump into the new Tequo tribe. So,
are we already like just horribly over time here? We have like
no. This is
with us.
No, Eric. I could talk with you. Well, last week, and if you guys haven't checked that out, I did a Big Brother seasons ranking podcast with Brent Walgamont, Alex Kidwell, and Taryn Armstrong, the live feed correspondents of Rob as a podcast. And we actually, Taryn and I, in the pre-show and the post-show, we were on talking for 5 hours. So, and if I can go for 5 hours with those guys, I clearly can go for an infinite amount of time with you, Eric. So,
well, I assure you, talking in enormous and ridiculous fine detail about Survivor on a Saturday afternoon is actually quite representative of what I would normally do with my life. So,
and that's representative.
After this is over, I'm just going to go take a nap. So
that's the exact same as me. That's exactly what I'm doing. That's why, Rob was like, hey, you want to do a podcast? Because you're going to be doing that anyway. And I was like, yeah, sure.
Right. This is just like, this is a conversation we would actually have you record. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if I was out in New York, I would just, go to your house or whatever, and we just chat and talk about this kind of stuff.
I will say, and before we jump to the next tribe, I wanted to mention this at some point. So I did have the pleasure of going to the live Know-It-Alls.
Yes.
I wanted to say, and this, I am not an ass kissy person. So I want to preface this by saying I would never say this normally. Rob has really created just a great community of people. And what I love about it is we just all love the same thing. I had so many great spirited debates with people about the best players, the worst players. How's this person going to do? What's exciting about it is people see these games differently. We can be so adamant about this. And in the comments, there'll be people say, you're out of your minds. Of course you step up and do the puzzle. There's not a right or a wrong way. But what Rob has created is people who have this passion. And to me, there's no separation between the podcasters and the staff members and the correspondents and the past contestants and the fans. That doesn't exist in this universe. We're all one and the same. And everyone was extremely gracious, made me feel really welcome. All of the debates I had were on par with the debate that we could have right now, or I have with Rob. And it's just an absolute testament to what Rob has done here. It's really exciting to me that there's this group of people who are actually not mean-spirited, not your typical social media lunatics, the ones that keep me off of Twitter, but instead a group of people who really just enjoy themselves and can dig in on this stuff. We are totally geeking out, dissecting everyone's every last word and move from the 3rd episode of Survivor, but we're all having a blast doing it. And it's nice to have, this group of people to do it with. So I just wanted to say that after having the live experience, and I am not the most out there person. I do not normally interact with people I don't know all that frequently. And it was really a treat. So I just wanted to say thanks to the patrons, thanks to everyone who was there, and thanks to Rob for setting up a safe haven, so to speak, but one where it's actually fun. It's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Eric. I think that Rob as a planet, you guys are amazing for listening to this and checking it out, and just your support and everything. You guys are awesome. I mean, there's a lot of people on social media who say stupid things, and you're going to get, one day, Eric, hopefully when you do make a Twitter, you'll feel that, I'm sure. But Rob as a podcast, people are very supportive. They're very kind. They've always got our backs, and it really means the world to me as well, how welcoming you guys have been. I wish I could have gone to the live know-it-alls in New York. I had school, but maybe next spring, if there's something going on, we'll see what happens, because I would love to make it out for one of those. I think it would be a lot of fun. But it's a good point in the show to mention that if you want to become a patron of Rob as a podcast as well, if you want to support this great community that Rob Cesternino has created, you can do so by going to robasawebsite.com/patron, and you can sign up to become a patron of Rob as a podcast and support the show and help Rob in making all of the great content that he does. You get to join a cool Facebook group. You get get some questions asked on this show specifically that I have from the patrons. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, it's great. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. It's definitely worth it. Okay, Eric. So Tequo, we have 6 people over there. We've got the 4 number 1 draft picks. We have Terry, Kelly Wentworth, Sierra, and Joe. And then we have the people who I guess are not the number 1 draft picks, Cass and Keith. Now, poor Cass and Keith. But you mentioned earlier that you haven't really seen too many people change that much from their initial season. Do you think Cass has changed? Because for me, I think we're seeing a new Cass McQuillan this time around.
All right. Cass is clearly smart. And we're going to see this next season, and we saw this the other season. There's a reason that it was designated brains versus brawn versus beauty. They were on the tribe for a reason. Tasha and Cass, and even to an extent Spencer, they've probably been the 3 people who have shown the most willingness to at least understand where they came from and where they're trying to go. Whether or not it ultimately gets them there, we'll see. Now with Cass, it's hard to say. My gut is I would have bet my life she would have been the first person voted off of this season. Because why do you want her there? She's an unreliable voter. She's a liar. She's betrayed allies, and she's not good in challenges. And she's dangerous. So it would be half out of respect and half for what we were talking about with Abby. I don't want to deal with this. So I'm shocked she's still there. But then again, they haven't actually gone to tribal. So what I'm wondering is this just that she hasn't exploded yet because nothing happened? Maybe they lose the next challenge and her brain breaks and she goes right back to where she came from. It's very easy to stay calm and measured and kumbaya when you're not in any danger. When her back is up against the wall, that's when the true Cass is going to come out. But by letting herself settle into this game a little bit, maybe she will actually have some relationships and maybe she has a fighting chance. You know, I would have thought Joe was in big danger to start this game too. But Cass, I was adamant about. If I was to, if we were to have ranked everyone in chances of winning, she would have been my number 1 before Abby, no chance of winning. No, because I don't see a scenario in which returning people, she doesn't seem to get along with people or anything. But for now, yeah, she's fine. But is this actually true? Is this a product of the circumstances, or is it just not happened yet because they haven't had any reason? Well, I mean, what would be her reason to rock the boat right now? You know, right. She's smart enough to understand that. So she's staying controlled for the moment, but I don't think we've seen anything. But I'd like to see her in the later part of the game, the merge part of the game or whatever, because she's someone who she's not going to let death take her, as Enzo used to say on Big Brother. This is a person who will fight tooth or nail and try and flip it at however she can to stay in the game. Yeah, so far what we're seeing is sort of like a neutered, sort of tame version of Cass, which is not nearly as fun, but that's obviously better for her gameplay and worse for the viewers so far.
Yeah, I think that's really, I love the idea of, that because she's winning, this facade maybe is what we're seeing of the real Cass. We're not really seeing behind the curtain because she has no reason to blow up yet. And I'm excited to see what happens when Cass does start losing. And I think last time what happened with Cass was right off the bat, she just started losing every single time with that terrible tribe, and she was scrambling right away. And that's kind of how, right off the bat, she was rubbing some people wrong. And then fast forward a little bit, and then within the merge, she was kind of in trouble a little bit, or she wasn't necessarily in trouble, but she just didn't like how things were going. They weren't going her way. So she started to shake things up. So it's going to be fun to watch this Cass 2.0. Is this really a changed person, or are we a Abby, Maria, and Cass meetup away from her completely blowing up her game? It's going to be very exciting to watch. Now, the Tequo tribe, Eric, I asked you this question about the Bayon tribe, whatever we want to call it. Who got the best draw with this group of 6?
I feel like it is those sort of middle of the pack, yet to have been heard from women who are in the best case, because they theoretically either have the protection of Terry and Joe, or they just have safety in numbers, or whatever the case may be. I mean, as I'm sure has been hit on many, many times, we haven't heard much from them. So it's very hard to say where their head is in the game, because they haven't played the game yet. So we don't really know what's happening here. I mean, Sierra's another one who on the surface level to me was a huge target coming into this season. To me, she's one of the best modern, more recent season players. I think she's falsely known for the situation with her mother, because that was a standout moment. I don't think that even begins to speak to the subtleties and layers of what actually made her a savvy and dangerous player. And it's actually not entirely dissimilar from what Cass is known for also. I think the fact of the matter is, just like you said, these are people, and the best players all do this. They take the matters into their own hands. They're not letting other people decide their fate. That's what drove me crazy about them letting Tasha and Savage make this decision. How do you leave your fate to other people when you're in this game, when you plainly have a road or an inlet to not needing to do that? So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes of these players, because are they disposable players who we're not seeing in the edit, or are we not seeing them in the edit because they haven't had the need to do anything yet? And as soon as it happens, are we going to see the two of them team up and wreak havoc? Are we going to see them go against each other? But they're not going to lay back. Let me tell you something, right? I mentioned this at Know-It-Alls. I'm the walking personification. I'm the living embodiment of what would be Big Brother's second chances. And all I can tell you is I may go down in flames if I were to be in that scenario, but I am not letting somebody else decide my fate. I will do everything tooth and nail to find out what happens. And you can't convince me otherwise on Sierra and Cass. So what is going to happen when they really need to get in the game? And what maybe it's just not in the edit so far, but I'm surprised we're not seeing people undermine each other more for later in the game. You know, why are we not seeing these subtle setups of those comments about a Jeremy, about a Savage or whatever? Yeah, great, we'll keep them here now, but just so you know, guys, here are the reasons. Let me just plant these little seeds, you know? But we've barely seen any game from them, so we don't really know what's going on. You know, Keith, much like I would have said Cass has no chance of winning, Keith is the obvious number one going to make it to the jury. And he's not going to win the game. And he's not going to win the game. He is what he is. He's perfectly pleasant. He's solid. He's loyal. He's no threat whatsoever. And that's going to happen. I full-heartedly believe we will be waking up at the final 6 and Keith will be sitting there. And it will be probably through very little of his own doing, except for the fact that I point this out on every season. The people who are the pawns and they say, oh, the nothings that get dragged to the end. The fact of the matter is the other people are still getting voted out. So you're still making yourself pleasant and useful, and you're there for a reason. You could have been the person who went out in the second vote, you know? But Keith is just that solid guy. It's an interesting tribe. And Terry is fascinating because he just flat out doesn't comprehend the game of Survivor. He really doesn't.
He's a social player, Eric. He's got a social game now. I
feel like he should have been on Utopia. He just wanted to build a community, a society with his bros and this and that. And I love Terry. Terry, as far as I know, was in consideration for earlier fans' favorites and heroes' villains. And I quite frankly think he should have been on any or all of those seasons. He was one of those people who was wildly outnumbered and made it work for a really long time. He deserved this opportunity, but I don't see how he shows up on a tribe with Joe and says, great, here's the 30 years younger version of me. This is awesome. That's not a good thing, in my opinion, but it is to Terry. And that's cool. But I like that because he is who he is, you know?
Yeah, and that is what's great. And again, comes back to this idea that you brought up of having people who in the game who view the game differently. Clearly, Terry is looking at this thing a lot differently than a Spencer or a Steven. And that's what makes this season good. And I think that, or what's going to make this season good, is we're going to see a lot of different people with different perspectives on things, and they're all in there together. It's kind of boring if you just watch 20 game bots go in there and do their thing. But if you have these people who are coming at it from a different angle, I think that is what that could throw a few wrenches into certain people's plans and make things more interesting down the road. And you need these kinds of people for your epic blindsides, for those sorts of things, because if you don't have a Terry Dietz, who I don't know who else is going to fall victim to that. I guess there's a few other people.
And guess what? They're all going to get them because they're smug and overconfident and feel way too self-assured in what's going on. And maybe that's part of the game we're not seeing yet. Maybe that's why you let those guys settle into that position, because it sets them up for the fall. This is, in essence, what happened to Jeremy on his first season, is you let someone dominate the front part of the game so that way you can pick up the second part of the game. However, this is not Big Brother, and the game does move really, really fast. And if you let them control it for even a chunk of the game, you may fall out of this. And I think that that's what we saw happen to Rob on the first All-Stars, is he said, I'm a threat, and so I'm going to lay back. And then he laid back, and it was too late. There's so much going on around you already, and you're not a part of it. And I think that may be the conundrum Steven's facing is,
yes,
what's the level of, I don't want to be threatening, but if I don't actually play up to my levels of capabilities, I might just be left out of this. And I think that, you're setting up every single one of Varner and Savage and Terry. They're all going to get blindsided because, you know what? Grown adults don't like to be told what to do by other people. Terry Dietz is not my father. He doesn't need to, so after a while, all you need to do is see one eye roll from somebody else or one time when someone's saying, and say, hey, do you want to write Terry a check for $1 million? Do you want to do what he's telling you to do? Or do you want to take this into your own hands? And you wouldn't think so on a second chance this season, but there's still leaders and there's still followers. And that's going to happen. Someone's going to rally up just the periphery people, and they're going to flip this game at some point. I mean, I could be wrong, but if we're sitting here at the end and it's like Savage and Terry and Varner in the end, I will laugh in the other 17 of their faces at the end of the season, because you can't be that stupid. You just can't. I'm sorry. You have some respect for yourself. Don't let someone just run away with it like that. And I think we're seeing them do well now, and I don't think they're going to do well later.
Do you think that with this draw, this group, and do you think that Terry, this could, if let's say a couple of tribal councils go by, Anchor keeps losing, but let's say Tequo loses one of these things, do you think that Terry is in danger here? Because if we look at it, right, there's 4 people from the original. Bayon crew, and there's only Terry and Kelly Wentworth left. Other than those guys, and Kelly Wentworth has an idol right now.
The problem here is, I think it's Joe, because Joe seems to be like the mini Terry. He has that same sort of philosophy on the game. But if I'm the Joe, Sierra, Cass, Keith contingency, again, this does not go against what I would conventionally do on any season, but this is about numbers in the broader sense, not numbers on this individual tribe. I would throw this challenge and vote out Terry, because the four of you are still together. Period. End of story. So why do you need to give him back on a platter to his other tribe members? He's great. He's valuable. He's a resource. He's a team player. He's a great guy. Those are the reasons that you want him out of the game. Those are not the reasons you want him on your team, because he's not on their team. That's exactly what the problem is. He's on their team today. So that was one of the great mind fucks that Tasha pulled off, was convincing that this is our family. This is our tribe. It's like, for like the last 10 minutes, it's not, we're not that close. So in this case, I think they should want, before the next flip, the next merge, the next reshuffle happens, you get the person out while you can, because when's the next time you're going to get your hands on Terry? So anyone who's in a numbers advantage and feels comfortable with their numbers should not be looking to bring those people in, because you're still going, the four of them could still go to a merge, not only the four of them, but inherit other people back. They don't need Terry, and they don't have Terry. So I do see him as being in danger, because I'd like to think ultimately people come to their senses, that somebody in this group can decipher, who's really helping you and who's really a danger to you.
Maybe two of those number one draft picks. You never know. Maybe.
Right. Well, I'm curious what your perception is right now. And I know you don't want to be making predictions with 17 people left, but forget the individual tribes. How are you perceiving just the overall power structure? Who has numbers when people come back together? And is that based on where they came from, where they are now, or what they brought into the game with them? Because I'm not seeing who's this chunk of 6 or 7 who is ultimately going to take over the game, or is it just going to be blindside after blindside and realigning after realigning?
Yeah, I think right now it's not very evident who it's going to be. I think early on, obviously, the Savage crew and those guys, it looks like over at that tribe, at least, they were in the majority. And then over at Tequo, with Jeff Varner flip-flopping all the time, it was clear Spencer was on the bottom. And that was about it. But otherwise, I really don't know, Eric. I'm excited, because I think that this could go a multitude of different ways, because like you mentioned, we've got pre-existing relationships / alliances. We have their alliances when they first got on the beach. We're going to have their new alliances they form now with this tribe swap. So I'm not sure. I think in Heroes versus Villains, we saw more of a clean cut. Okay, here's the heroes. They're over here on this side. Okay, and here's the villains. They're over here on this side, because there wasn't really a tribe swap or anything like that. I think they were pretty much set for the most part, other than a few blindsides here and there in the pre-merge. But I'm thinking with this group of 3, and this typically is what you see on a season where there are 3 tribes, I think we're just going to see a lot of reshuffling of the deck over and over again. I think that right now, the power structure, I think that Terry, I think Joe, I think Jeremy, I think those guys are in good spots right now, but I think that it probably is going to change relatively quickly once these tribes go back down to 2, or they go back into a merge situation, because again, these are all-stars. These are people that have played the game before. I think
right, you can't just sit there and let Joe win the game.
No, you can't.
Unless you have no respect for yourself. That scenario can't happen, which is why, although they're the obvious front runners right now, it is hard to envision them making to the finish line. But also, the edit we've been given so far, it's even harder to envision the scenario in which Timmy and Monica and whoever get there. That doesn't seem really likely. So what's interesting is, I think from an edit standpoint, you don't want to be, get the purple edit, as we call it. You don't want to be purple Monica. That's not good, because you're plainly not winning the game then if they're not showing what your game is, who you're aligned with. We can deduce that from a viewer standpoint. I also don't think you want to be front and center of conflict or this leadership position. So who are the people that have the chops who may have some alliances, but they're not front and center on the chopping block right now, and they're not also non-existent. And I think that brings us to a person that we've yet to discuss, who, gun to head, is probably my pick if I were to pick today, who's Kelly Wentworth, because I think that you saw ahead of time a lot of people wanted to work with her. She seems exceedingly pleasant, has an idol. She is strong enough that she's carrying her weight with her tribe. And as we hit on earlier, she has 2 other members of her season who also seem believable to be at least to mid to late game type of players, possibly. So you could also easily envision so many of the recent season guys getting in with her. You could see a Spencer or a Joe jumping on board with her. That does not take a real leap of faith to get there, or a leap of logic. So I think she's someone who's sitting really well. Because the thing is, the problem becomes, if I want you out and you want me out, then we're going to end up out, because you get me first and then my cronies are going to get you. And that's really what's going to ultimately happen. But who wants her out? And that's where that you start wondering, that's where, and the question is, though, does she take a stranglehold of the game and dominate, or does she just slip through the cracks? And I think that's the question for Sierra, for Tasha, for Monica, for all of these people of, are you going to take a proactive role in your own fate, or are you just going to be lucky based on the byproduct of all these other people, butting heads?
Yeah, I think that's you're 100% accurate there, Eric, in that analysis. I think that Kelly is she's 100% safe right now. I don't think anybody would want to go after her. And I think that with that idol, with that relationship she has with Jeremy's got an idol as well. I think that if they can get back together, whether that's at their new tribe that they form after they go back down to 2, or whether that's at the merge, I think that she's in a great spot. And like you said, right now, for the time being, who would want to go after Kelly Wentworth? I don't think anybody would, because she's very likable. She is good to be around a camp. People enjoy her very much. She seems like a very nice person. And she's not, and I said this I did a show a couple weeks ago with Haley Strong talking about the premiere, and we just said that Kelly is not, she's the type of person that is very good at a lot of things, but she's not the best at like anything. So she's not like, oh wow, Kelly is so strategic, or wow, Kelly is so good in these challenges, or oh, Kelly is so manipulative. No, I don't think anybody views her that way. So I think that's really going to help her. And I think that she's very intelligent. I think she's a lot. I think she is very good at a lot of these things. I just think that people don't perceive her in that way. And that's going to take her far in the game. I think that as well. I think Tasha is somebody who we've seen already just based on the edit she's gotten. I think she definitely has that upside as well. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Monica was my preseason pick, Monica Padilla, but not looking so good. Not happening.
Yeah. Your point about Kelly is really well taken, because I'm going to use a ridiculous example here. I'm going to use Adam, the winner of Big Brother 9. Now, he has
big baller.
Yes, he has a bad reputation now because he went to jail and everything. But he's the prototype of what you're describing. He was reasonably physical, reasonably strategic, and reasonably likable. But he was not the most strategic, the most likable, the most physical. So you're never at the top of someone's to-do list ever, but you're doing decently enough with it that you can kind of keep going, like next increment. And also, Kelly doesn't come with the sort of stench of her past game. She didn't do anything that would make you raise an eyebrow towards her. She didn't do anything untrustworthy. She also didn't place particularly well. So when you're looking at it and you have a runner-up and someone who won 5 immunities, and then you have her, it's easy to sort of let it go. And it's not a coincidence that on the early All-Stars and returning seasons that Amber and Parvati, who very much, particularly Amber, very much fit the prototype of what Kelly is bringing to the game, win those seasons. Because, and that's not to discredit anything that they're doing, but when you look at the structure of how these seasons go, and that's what actually makes it all the more impressive when someone like Parvati or Russell repeats an excellent performance. But these seasons are somewhat designed for someone a little bit under the radar to surprise you, because here's the thing, Kelly always had this in her. and so did all these other players that we're talking about. I'm not even speaking to her specifically. There are so many people who are on these shows that, given a different batch of circumstances, would have shown completely differently. And it just didn't happen that time. People think, oh, that was their outcome. That's representative of how they can play this game. There were people on my season who went out in the first few that I'm 100% positive could win a season of Big Brother. And they just didn't have the opportunity that time around. And, so it gives them the opportunity to kind of show something they didn't show last time, because they're allowed to settle into the game, because it's no one's first priority to get rid of Tasha or Kelly or those type of players.
For sure. I think the only way that Kelly runs into any trouble is if she does go out there and make a big move that kind of rubs people the wrong way later on in the game. But for the time being, I think she's 100% safe. And also, Eric, I think you were probably the first person on this planet to compare Kelly Wentworth to Adam Big Baller Jasinski. So congratulations.
I see a new meme coming, just side by side.
Yeah, if you want to make that meme, tweet it at me. I'd love to see that. And I'll
Kelly is the new A baller, a possible hashtag.
Kelly is the new A baller. And then also too, I'm intrigued that you just said that you think people that were out very early on your season could win a season of Big Brother. Who? Because I mean, are you telling me Mike Dutz could win Big Brother, or Kale, or Carol, or one of these people?
I'll go one step further. I won't even imagine a theoretical season of Big Brother. And this is where I totally lost all of my fans. I went slightly against the desires of America's player. I put all of my eggs in the basket of getting Nick out of the house in week 4. It was the one time I really put my neck out on the line. I don't believe in getting yourself involved in votes that don't directly involve you. I think that's just a way to piss people off. But plain and simple, if Nick did not go home in week 4, Nick wins Big Brother 8. Period. End of story. He was aligned incredibly deep, super well liked, bros with the guys, flirting with the girls. Everyone liked him. And much like, a Cody would be a good example of a Nick type of player, or whatever the case may be. Nick was going to be rolling deep aligned, and it would have been impossible to get him out if he went further in the game. It goes to my theory. There are certain people, you just have the one opportunity. And if they give you the littlest crack, you better jump on it right now, which is why I'm saying, against conventional wisdom, if I have an opportunity to do anything to get a Terry or a Jeremy out, and I maybe have the numbers right now, who says that I'm going to have the numbers then? So that's why I do not like the fact that people are laying back and letting other people call the shots. Yeah, you don't want to make a spectacle of yourself and move yourself to the head of the line, but at least be smart about it. There are those 2-3 times a season you need to shuffle a deck. I wouldn't want to reshuffle this early unless it was plainly essential. But for a Steven or a Spencer, it may be. It may be now or never. So, I'm curious. I feel like they must be aware of this, but that doesn't mean they're going to do it necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be fun to watch. I think that the game, sometimes it just comes down to one little decision like that. And I think that although guys like Steven and Spencer are gonna have a really tough time winning in a season like this anyway, I think that for Steven at least, I think that might ultimately come back to haunt him, not taking that shot at Jeremy when he has it. Because if you're gonna blindside him, he just has an idol. He thinks he's in the numbers. I think now, if you want to vote out Jeremy Collins, I think now is the time. No.
Absolutely. This is early in this game that you're talking about, but you see it on every season of Survivor and Big Brother, where you're sort of positioned like, I'm working my way towards finishing 7th. That's just not the object of the game. So if I'm about to finish 7th, but there's something I may be able to do, but it's going to either end up with me finishing 11th or finishing 2nd, 3rd, 1st, I'm taking the chance. Because does it really matter if you come in 11th or if you come in 7th? But it does matter if you come in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. So I do think on this type of season, you must take these chances that are presented to you. And yes, some of them are going to fail, and it's going to get you out 3 weeks earlier than you would have otherwise, but you were going out anyway. So I can't stand the seasons like One World, or even this happened the last 2 Big Brother seasons, where it's like, basically, there's, first of all, an alliance of 6, and then there's those 3 ancillary people who are still helping that alliance, who aren't even in that alliance. And it's like, how can you be on the outskirts of a 6-person alliance, in 7, 8, and 9 and be okay with that and then just go home. Like, you need to do something about it. So that's why I think this is going to end up being far more explosive than we've seen so far. I think you're going to see huge moves, huge, way too early and extreme, ridiculous blindsides, and people going, what just happened here? I think this is going to be almost like Heroes Villains, where people are going to be pulling idols out and oh, you got that idol? Well, I got my idol. That's great. And oh, you think, you got Abby? I got Abby. I think it's going to be an absolute cluster mess, which is great, which is why it's going to be so much fun. I think it's actually been a slow-ish start to the season, but I think that's because the game hasn't even started yet. These have been pretty easy boots for the most part. And, going back just as a quick to rewind, I was kind of surprised to see Shireen go out this early, but I think she's one of those two outcome people. She was going to either have her people and go to the end or go out early. And Vitas, he was an obvious early boot on this season because he's just way too dangerous. But was still glad to see him there, and I think the season would have been better if he was there. Because I think his journey on his first season may have been one of the very, very most interesting of any players in recent seasons. He really had an interesting narrative and a really interesting personality and style to the game. But what was he going to really do this time? I know they made it out like he was this creep and he really put himself out there, but I think that was just a way of saying, like, they couldn't just have 12 people do a confessional and say, like, we had decided ahead of the game we were going to vote Vitas out first, which is probably what really happened.
I would love for them to show that one season where they're just like, yeah, we all decided before Vitas is just going home. But
right. It has absolutely nothing to do with his yoga, which it obviously has nothing to do with,
Yeah, I feel bad for Vitas. I think that, and it happens. I think it happened to Rob Cesternino too on All Stars. The show had to somehow come up with some way to describe why that person got voted out. And for a lot of casual people I've talked to in my life that watch Survivor, have been like, oh man, like Vitas, yeah, he was like so creepy with women. I was like, yeah, but that's not why he got voted out. That was just Vitas being Vitas. Has nothing to do with that.
Right. And the fact that he was doing yoga in his underwear, that's because they're in their underwear. Like that.
Yes.
It's not like he's like, let me take off my pants to do this yoga. Like, that's just the environment. Yeah, I agree. I think but he was going to have a tough time no matter what, I think.
Oh yeah, poor Vitas. He's a guy I'd love to see play again, but I don't know if he's going to get that chance. But I agree. Your point you brought up earlier, it's a great one, that he had a very interesting story arc that first go round on Blood versus Water. I think that his first time around, that game that he played was one of the most impressive first games ever for somebody that has not won and been a early jury boot. But yeah, he's a great guy. I think
that was a great season. I think that was perhaps my favorite modern season. Actually, I just think both Sierra and even Hayden. I think they're really a lot of interesting dynamics, and I think that, as obviously we saw in San Juan del Sur, not as effective, the Blood versus Water, when you're not. We had the investment, we had the returning players anchoring our emotions here, and that, I think, is what really led to so many interesting dynamics and stories there. And they got great people. People say, well, why are you bringing back Laura? You're bringing back Laura because she comes with Sierra. That's why they cast that season that way. It wasn't just Laura. Laura did a great job, and it turned out that she was very interesting, both of her seasons. But she's not the first person who comes to your mind from a casting standpoint. But look at all of the great new characters that season kind of brought to the table. So it was interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that was one of probably the best things in the modern era of Survivor that they've done, is coming up with that concept. And instead of just doing a normal, let's do a fans versus favorite season, because there was a while where they were kind of just obsessed with bringing people back, but that was a really unique way to bring them back, and it was great. And I hope that we'll see that again, because someone like Laura Moret, I don't think we ever would have seen her play Survivor ever again had it not been for the fact that Sierra was just so great, and that's why they wanted to bring both of them back onto the show. And it's a good way for certain people that miss the cut for these all-star seasons, like normally, like a Terry Dietz, somebody who we haven't seen in a long time, get back on. Now Terry didn't get on that season, but he did ultimately get on here. So Tyson Apostle, I mean, he would not have been a winner if it was not for that season. So, and I don't know if Tyson would ever come back if it wasn't for that. So I agree with you. I think that was it was a great season, Blood versus Water. It was in the Big Brother Canada house. We used to do a podcast I think it was like every couple of days for a little while. People were very annoyed with me watching the live feeds, but one of the podcasts we did was best seasons, and Blood versus Water came in 4th place, if I recall correctly. So yeah, one of my favorites. It's a great one. Let's jump into the questions, Eric. Do you got some time for questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like soon we need to let people go. You know, they need to eat dinner and things like that or whatever. Don't want to torture people, but I'm game for a few for sure.
Okay, cool. We'll take a couple questions and then we'll wrap things up here. A little earlier on the West Coast here, but for those of you watching on the East Coast, thank you very much for staying with us through dinner time. We appreciate that. Here's the first question. So if you want to send us a question quickly, there's some people watching this right now. If you want to tweet me at Jordan Parhar, use the hashtag RHAP. That way I will see your question and then I will answer it here, hopefully. And then also you can leave a comment in the YouTube video as well. Okay, this one comes from Tenor84. They're great, Nina Spong, all the way from Sweden. She says, I want to ask Eric Stein if he would consider doing a Big Brother evolution of strategy with Rob Sesternino. All love, hashtag RHAP. Eric, you've heard of the great evolution of strategy, no?
Yes, most certainly. And I have mixed feelings on it. I think it would be fascinating. I would love to dive in. Rob is certainly the person I'd want to do it with. And as I've mentioned today and in previous podcasts, I feel uncomfortable evaluating the games of my peers. I am in no way a better, more substantial, more knowledgeable player than them. And I feel like it's hard for me to want to dissect people in that way. And that's one of the main reasons why I was so elusive, so to speak, about doing Big Brother podcasts is, I mean, why do I get to have any more say than anybody else about this? And I personally have a very hard time dissecting this stuff without a little bit of snark and negativity and so forth. And I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to undermine people. These are my friends. These are people who we all went. That's, why I was busting your balls before, because we all did the same thing. We got cast on the very same show, had the very same experience. We're bonded by that. I happen to have done it earlier because I'm older than you. That's it. It's not like I'm not the greats and you're the this. We are equally on the exact same footing of the same experience. And that's where it becomes hard for me, is that I don't want to put myself above the experience in any which way or make it out as if my one singular opinion is of any more value. So it's hard for me to dissect in that regard. But it would be great. It would be, a spirited talk, just like we're having. It would be, I think, quite engaging. I would enjoy it. So I'm not closed off to it. It's a possibility. But I would feel more comfortable doing it if I was a fully retired, never going to see these people again, may never play again, not have to hang out with them again. If I had made a full transition into journalism, which is not something that I will ever be doing, I would love to. Where I'm at right now, I wonder if it's worth the hurt feelings and the whatever else that comes along with it. But I would consider it.
Okay, interesting. You see, I didn't think you would say that, but I thought you would just say, no, I don't want to. But that's a great answer, Eric. I don't blame you at all. And for those of you wanting something like that, for one, I don't know if Rob even has the time for that, because if you think about watching every single episode of Survivor, each Survivor season is about 13 episodes. For Big Brother, there are like 30 plus each season, so easily. So
and that's another thing is I'd love talking about it. I really wouldn't want to rewatch every episode of Big Brother. That's another thing is also like I don't see I don't know. It's like a real wormhole for me. It's like by the time that's hundreds and hundreds of episodes. So I think I would be personally a lot more open to maybe an individual season or, tapping in, maybe talking through my season, something along those lines or whatever the case may be. Now that you actually put it into perspective, it's not the talking about it even so much as the
Time.
I mean, right. It's so Rob always, gets on me because it's hard enough to get me for an hour. So am I going to watch 33 hours and then talk about it for another 15 hours? And realistically, it's probably not going to happen. But, but we've talked about this. I love like lists and, who's the best this and who's the most that. That stuff is super fun for me. If we could boil it down a little bit more, that level of, in depth, I think is fascinating. And I think it's amazing what they've done on the Survivor front. Am I realistically going to do that?
No, that's okay. I think, for those people wondering about that sort of thing, I think that the only person who has enough time on their hands and is doing nothing with their life enough in a situation like this to be talking about it would be someone like me. So I could potentially do something like that. And maybe I will have enough time to do that next summer because I just sit around and do nothing all day when I'm not in school. So maybe next summer, that's something you'll see from me. Even then, I don't know, because it's a lot of TV and I have not ever watched Big Brother 1. I don't ever want to watch Big Brother 1 ever. So they're very hard to get through the Dr. Drews and the Whoa, That's Wilds and all of those sorts of things. So we'll see. I'll let you know, Nina, but for the time being, I think it's going to be tough for anybody to pull something like that off. Maybe me and some of the live feed correspondents, or maybe if Ian Terry stops watching The Genius, then we could get into something like that. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Okay, let's get into some of these other questions from the patrons of Rob Has a Podcast. So this question here comes from Matt Ligori, and he says, "Hey Eric, great talking to you the past couple weeks at Know-It-Alls. What are your feelings on some of the under the radar women in this game, like Kimmy, like Kelly Wigglesworth, Monica, and Sierra so far? Will we have to wait until their boot episodes for us to hear anything from them?"
I hope not, but I do think that there will be a couple of cases like this. I mean, we all saw Probst's, I don't even know what tense that is. But anyway, we all saw Jeff Probst's idiotic remarks where he's devaluing the women of the game, which is ludicrous to me. I think actually on the surface it's a stronger batch of women than it is of men. But these guys, their game is exposed. It's out in the public. Their skill set is very obvious. They're either physical, they're either strategic. And I think there's a little bit more subtlety to these games. And I think sometimes the edits struggle with subtlety because someone like a Sierra or a Monica we would think completely differently about their game if they gave them one single confessional in these 3 episodes so far that said, I know my place in this. I'm going to set this up to let the big boys fight right over my head, and I will do what I need to do when the time comes. Then we would say, she knows what's up. This is intentional. But because they haven't thrown that to us, we're left wondering, is that what she's doing, or is she just not doing anything? And that's why we have this sort of mystery about what's happening with the games. But I think it goes to what we were talking about earlier. Some of them, they're not in danger, and they're not in the obvious leadership roles on their tribe right now. So what would we see about them? So I think that most of these people will rise to the top. We will see them in the mix of this game. The two that certainly stand out to me that are going to probably be non-entities are Kimmy and Monica. And honestly, I maybe this is me being a dick, but I think that these are the two people who probably were, along with Keith, the people I felt least compelled to see play the game again. I think people have this like nostalgia where they think of someone like Kimmy and they're like, one of the early ones, one of the greats. If Kimmy was on season 25, I don't think she would even have been in consideration. She's known for getting into a fight with someone. Like, it's not like there was anything so particularly memorable, but I too had that, oh man, we can get Jeff and Kimmy and this is amazing. That's my reaction. But then when you really think about it, what is she going to do in this game? And I think the answer is nothing.
Yeah, when I came out of the Big Brother Canada house and saw the cast for Survivor Second Chance, well, first off, I spent 35 days in the jury house, worrying away my sorrows by drinking alcohol and various other sweets and things, and gaining 15 pounds. It was great, and I thought to myself, man, I'm never gonna ever have a chance to play Big Brother ever again. I'm so terrible. I'm the worst. And then I saw Kimmy Kappenberg was back on Survivor, and then I thought, okay, well, maybe I could play again someday, maybe in like 15 years or something like that. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it, Eric. It's like, why is Kimmy Kappenberg? Yeah, she was on an old season, but why is she revered? Like, ooh, she got in a fight with Alicia Calloway.
It's just people they just don't remember. It's just I have much more vivid memories of the cast members. I could probably run off for you the entire cast of the first few seasons of Survivor. But then if you ask me, like, give me the cast of Fiji or something like that, like, I don't think I could even get to like 6 people. And I watched every episode, and I know most of these people.
Can we actually try that, naming 6 people?
I have
from Fiji?
nothing beyond Earl. That's it. I was even on that season.
Okay, we had Earl. We have Earl.
Oh,
We talked about Dreams.
Okay.
And Yao Man earlier. So there's 3.
You're already doing better than me. You see, to me, like the middle seasons, and this is the thing is, I mean, if I looked at it for 5 seconds, I would remember everything. But it's like there's that blur of like 8 or so in the middle around the Guatemalas and some of the early Panama and all those, the first Exile Island or whatever. They're all a blur to me. But it's sort of like the early of American Idol or any of these things. The early seasons are always going to be the ones that, as a fan, those were the ones of, holy shit, there's this great new show, and I watch every second of it. And after a while, it just kind of becomes interchangeable almost, which is why I actually think also in the voting, we saw a lot of those sort of mid-season people sort of fall through the cracks, you know? It's kind of too bad. I think there's plenty of people in the mix that would have been very interesting if given another chance. I think someone like Jim would have come in with such a chip on his shoulder. I think he would have messed stuff up. He wouldn't have won, but he would have made his mark known. You know, I think that Sabrina does not get the credit that she deserves because Kim is such a stud winner. So it's regarded now as Kim's season. I bet you if you were to really dive in on how this all played out, I think it was a lot Kim, Sabrina, and Chelsea's season. And Kim was the winner. She was the face of this group. But I've met Sabrina, and I assure you, she would have done well in this game. I know she would have. She would have settled in really well. So, you know, there's missed opportunities, but you can't have everybody. So,
no. Again, I'm in favor of this Second Chances 2 season that airs instead of the new season that's airing in the spring. I think that would be very fun to watch. No Beast Mode Cowboy.
It makes me worried that the next season is going to suck because it seems peculiar that they filmed them out of sequence and then flipped them. So it makes me feel like this is to like appease the fan base. And then next one will be like womp womp. You know, like I feel like otherwise I don't see the motivation. They could have just simply, unless because of the returning players, maybe they were a little more concerned than normal about like results getting out. So they wanted to run this as fast as possible. But I'm wary of what's to come.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's I don't know, the brains versus beauty versus brawn concept. I mean, it's worked before, but I don't know. Again,
I don't actually like the concept because I think it's inherently unfair. Because if you are beautiful, that is plain to the eye, and if you are on the bronze, that's also plain to the eye. But if you are a brain, you could theoretically choose to disguise that, and I think it's kind of unfair that it's just outing like, you should know this person did great on their, IQ test prior to this. Like, that's really not fair to that tribe, in my opinion. It like basically makes them automatically sketchy, that tribe. So I don't like the structure because I don't think it's up to production to expose what skills someone may or may not want to bring to the game. That should be up to the players, in my opinion.
I agree for sure. And I think that somebody like, Cass on her season talked, and I've heard interviews where Cass kind of said, oh, well, I work with animals. I'm not a lawyer. She kind of played it off like she wasn't that smart. And I think that they kind of bought it based on everything that she was doing. She was kind of all over the place. But this time around, for sure, I think that, yeah, those brains, those people, well, somebody like a Garrett, for example, right? The guy who was, he was the second one out because he is this huge jacked guy that's shredded. And oh wait, just it happens to be on the Brains tribe.
Right.
I mean, if he was on a different tribe, he might have been fine.
Well, and also similarly, I think it's completely insulting to imply that the beauties and the bronze can't be smart and aren't smart. And several of them were quite smart. So then you're saying basically they cast sad sack brains. Like we are the prototype of what they would put on. No offense.
No, none taken.
The Brains tribe. It would be like that's just it. That's the only skill you are bringing to this experience, and that's the end of it. Whereas these other people, I mean, they actually may have multiple of those facets to their personality. So I thought the whole structure was ill-conceived from the get-go, and I think it will be again next time.
Oh man, yeah, that's one day, Eric. Maybe we'll get invited for some crossover season of Brains versus Beauty versus
Survivor. Oh yeah, I'd really be like when they're like announcing the tribes. Which one am I going to be on? Which one am I going to be on? I think it's Beauty. I think it's Beauty. I mean, seriously, but that's the thing is that Survivor. I think from a strategy standpoint, I think I would like to play Survivor actually more than Big Brother. I hate on Big Brother that you can do everything right, but lose the HOH or the veto. And like you could be up 7-1 and still be eliminated from the game. In Survivor, if you do everything right, you're probably going to win Survivor, most likely. But I would not last 3 days on Survivor. I really feel confident about that. I feel like my whole body would just betray me. It would be a nightmare. Like I was really built for sitting on a couch for 95 days, not going out into the jungle. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, Eric. I think I'd probably die too. I'd want to do it. I'd want to try it.
I mean, I would love it. Although I think honestly, from just a pure objective standpoint, Amazing Race is the best one to go on because Amazing Race gives you experiences outside of the game that you would never have before. So it's like, when would I ever have the opportunity to rappel down this building and be on this mountain or active volcano or whatever? Whereas in Big Brother, you're just sitting on a studio set, with recycled furniture that that people, if you had watched the feeds, had sex on the year before. So, it's not like, oh, remember that time I got to sit in that gross house? Like, Amazing Race and Survivor, you have a little bit more of that experience to like hang your hat on at the end.
Oh, those poor people on Big Brother 10, those poor people, what they thought about when they entered the house. Oh man, I'm so glad that I didn't have to worry about something like that.
Well, you have to assume that they drain the water in the pool at least between seasons. I hope.
I don't know, Eric.
Yeah, honestly, I can't even say. I'm not certain either.
So who knows? Okay, let's take one last question before we wrap things up for today. This one comes from Brent Walgamot, the great Brent Walgamot, and he says, Eric, you're always making jokes that you're single and alone, but you're a hot, smart, witty, self-deprecating, and fit guy. What gives?
All right. You see, he was working me with his charm until the fit. All right. I am really, really not fit. I don't know. It must be just cutting me in the right angle. I'm wildly out of shape. So now I can't really trust the rest of his statement at all. But the fact of the matter is, and I had a showmance, which was a huge mistake, and that was incredibly invasive afterwards. So Let's just put it this way. I could be married for 6 years. I could be engaged. I could be with the love of my life. I could be casually dating someone, or I could be desperate and single. And I promise you, I'm not going to tell you on this podcast. So I don't think anyone should be too worried about me or my social life or who I'm surrounding myself with or whether or not there's good things or good people in my life. Because I would never bring this person or theoretical person into this universe. I know how that goes. And so I appreciate the sentiment, Brent. It's very kind and very sweet. I think if you knew me, you would probably not feel that way if you actually spent time with me. I will say I'm a very selective sort of person. I have, I'm not that easy to crack or whatever the case may be. But, Yeah, you don't have to worry about me.
Okay. So Rob's reality show that he pitched a few years ago, Close Encounters with the Eric Stein. Yeah, not happening.
Not at this time. No.
Okay, not at this time. All right. Okay. Well, Brent, I am. Let's see. What did you use? Well, okay. I'm single and alone, but I guess I'm not hot, smart, witty. I am self-deprecating. I'm not fit. So yeah, I'm none of those things.
Self-deprecating, like that now goes down in the plus column of things like people are looking for. Like they want like a paranoid, like like.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in my Tinder profile
right
after this, Eric. I think hopefully that'll work.
Crippling insecurity. Like what else is now counting as like a pro in our columns?
I don't know. I guess that there's like relationship hipsters out there. So maybe
let me point out the obvious here. Like if I was ever to be appealing to a group of people, this is it. Like this is our wheelhouse. These are people who actually like the Eric Steins of the world. But guess what? Every single day of my life, I'm not sitting in a room with 1,000 other Survivor diehards. That's just not happening. So when I go out on the street, people aren't like, you know what? When this guy talks Survivor, it is sexy. Like, I like his mind. No, they're just seeing a 5'7" mediocre looking guy who seemingly has an unknown career of may or may not be retired. It's not, it doesn't really carry the weight that it does in this very chat room right now, which is great because I'm glad I know that I have this support and this fallback. At least I know that this is available if the time comes. But that doesn't really play in my day-to-day life. Although I must say, Jordan, I saw your scandal, your social media scandal with your fake engagement and proposal and this and that. And I can only say, I really hope that you are parlaying this afterlife of charity events and podcasting. Although I may not want to talk about my dating life, I'm happy to talk about yours. And I really hope that you're riding this into the ground for everything it's worth. I mean, now is the time, because I promise you, 8 years later, it doesn't get more opportune. It only gets less and less likely.
I'm doing well, Eric. You don't need to worry about me, and we don't need to talk about my love life. Maybe we'll do another. Rob used to do with Nicole. The Rob Has a Love cast. Maybe we'll do one of those. I don't know,
boy, that would be a sad tale if I was on it.
Yeah, we'll save that for maybe me and Haley Strong will be on there. We'll talk. We'll take your love questions. I'll ask some love advice. She can help me. I could get Franny to help me. I think I'm doing okay. Ginger Ninja is he's leading the way. He's the captain of that ship from my season, and I'm just following his lead. So, but yes, no, my that engagement. I wish it was true, but unfortunately, it was false. I got a lot of people commenting. My mom texted me in the middle of the night saying, "Did you just get engaged?" Even though that wasn't even my girlfriend.
Realistically, what's wrong with people? Like, this is why I don't join Twitter, because I don't know you all that personally well at all. I know nothing about the interpersonal dynamics of you, your castmates, this and that. And not for 1 millisecond did that register as anything but a joke. And I was like, it's great. That's good for them. They're having fun. They're out drinking, whatever. So the fact that you would actually receive hundreds of congratulations goes to show the very reason why I'm not on social media.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy world we live in, Eric. I guess you and I are cut from the same cloth. I also, if I saw something like that, would be like, well, that's 100% not true. But it's funny. That's how it started. We were sitting around having drinks, and it was Willow, the Ginger Ninja, Arlie from season 2 of Big Brother Canada, and we were talking. And I said, hey, Willow, if I proposed to you right now, I bet you people would believe it. And she's like, I don't think so. I was like, no, let's do it. And she's like, really? And I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens. It'll be fun. She's like, all right, sure. And then we did it. And then, sure enough, it happened. Now, I think part of it was that what happened was Arlie wanted there to be some evidence as to what, like, proof as to us really being engaged, because some people were questioning it. And then he convinced Willow to start making out with me, and he wanted to get a picture of that, and then he would post it on his Instagram, and therefore people would see my photo and his photo and be like, put 2 and 2 together, and say, oh wow.
Okay.
So there was a backup. So that kind of helped my cause.
Sounds to me like you owe Arlie a couple of drinks.
I do owe Arlie several drinks.
That sounds like a masterful plan he concocted.
Yeah, it was quite great.
So wait, so I guess though the real question is, should we announce our engagement right now, or is that just, shouldn't be putting this out here like that?
Yeah, we'll save it for the OC podcast.
Yes, all right. Yeah, should we tease this?
Yeah, why don't so let's wind things down, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Eric, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I really do appreciate it. I don't believe you've been, as far as I know, I mean, I'm a huge fan of yours. I don't think you've been on any podcast other than Rob's ever. So thank you for venturing over to my show, the RHAPpy Hour. I really do appreciate it. And it really does mean a lot to me.
Well, I thank you for having me. And to make it clear, my time is not invaluable. My time is valueless. I am very difficult, hard to get a hold of. Don't give my time very frequently. But if it wasn't this, I probably would have just been drinking by myself, watching like reruns of God knows what or whatever. So you probably kept me off the streets today. So it's a good thing. You were looking out for me. I appreciate it. And as I said, regarding my know-it-alls experience and everything, we enjoy this stuff. This is what we like to do. So to be able to just jump in, and what's a mystery to me is I will never get to the point where I understand why anyone cares what I have to say about this. That's and the thing is, it's great. I really appreciate it's fantastic. But the truth of the matter is, every single one of the entire community would have just as much to say about it, would be just as engaging, and I'd be super psyched to watch anybody do that. So if given the opportunity, I'm going to take it. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. It really does mean a lot. I appreciate it. And thank you for you guys listening. I mean, it's been a long podcast. It's been over 2 hours. I think we're maybe starting a little trend here. Last week was over 3. This week's over 2. Maybe we're going to start doing the longer ones more often. We'll see what happens. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you want to support the show, again, you can do so by going to robhaswebsite.com/RHAPpy Hour. That's happy hour with an R at the front. Subscribe there. Leave a review for the podcast. And for everybody who has left a review, by the end of the Survivor season, I will be doing 2 Skype calls with 2 people. I'm going to throw everyone's name in a hat and draw 2 out, and I'll be doing a 30-minute Skype call with 2 lucky people, or maybe not so lucky people. And we'll be talking about whatever you want to talk about. Should be a lot of fun. And on top of that, if you're not sure if you're going to win that thing, if you're nervous, if you don't want to leave a review, but you still want to have a Skype call with me, you can do that now and I will have a link hopefully up by the end of this podcast. I will tweet it out on Twitter. I'm going to be going to Reality Rally next year for 2016 in the spring. So we're raising money for Michelle's Place to give back to breast cancer. It's a really great cause. So if you want to support me, I will gladly do a Skype call with you. So I was thinking, if you want to, I was thinking $1 a minute. So if you donate X number of dollars, I will be with you for that many number of minutes. Now, if you donate $500, I might not be able to give you 500 minutes right off the bat, but I'll see what I can do. So for every $1 you donate, I will talk to you on Skype for 1 minute. So hopefully you guys will check that out and give back to a great cause, because I'm really passionate about that. And I think it's great. So if you could do that, that would mean a lot to me. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Reality TV RHAP-ups on YouTube. And make sure to like this video, leave us a comment on robhaswebsite.com. Really appreciate that as well. I always read the comments, positive or negative, and I really do enjoy that a lot. And
they're going to be negative.
They're always negative. They really are.
Now, if I buy $10 worth of 10 minutes, do I have to take those all at once, or can I annoy you with 10 1-minute Skypes throughout the course? Because that might be worthwhile.
Yeah, if you want to,
like, what do you think about this shirt? I'm going out later. You like that? Oops, time's up. Talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. If you want to do, please, let's do maybe a 20.
Giving people that idea.
Let's do. Thank you, Eric, for bringing up that loophole in my plan.
And you'll take them at any unscheduled at any time of day, right?
Yeah, I'll be giving out my Skype username, and I have it on my phone all the time. So I'm just being 3 a.m. I'll be getting them. People be like, "Hey, you want to meet me at this bar here?" Or maybe a Ginger Ninja will buy some of those, and he'll use them to call me. I think that'll be good. And now I have my Siri going off, making noise. Yeah,
because Siri just bought 10 minutes worth.
Yeah, Siri bought 10 minutes worth. So there you go. Right there you go. Siri bought 10 minutes worth. So there we go. Maybe we'll say 20 minutes. If you want to split it up, if you get anything 20 minutes and under, I'm not going to split that up. I'm sorry for being an asshole, but I just don't want, that's not going to work. But if you wanted to buy, if you really want to buy 100 minutes and you want to split it up into 10 or 5 20-minute increments, then I guess we can do that.
How much extra for you to go shirtless?
Honestly,
just seeing what's available here. I want available? To get all the facts out.
Okay, yeah, shirtless. I'll go shirtless. I'm not cheap. It doesn't really cost much for me to take my top off, Eric. I was
for like $2.
Yeah, maybe $2. I mean, honestly, if you want to spend an extra $2, I'll go shirtless. I mean, I really don't mind. So I don't know if anyone wants to see that. I mean,
I'm just trying to get some new opportunities for you, for the love cast.
For the love cast. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I mean, if you saw me on the feeds, yes, I was so greatly in shape then, and I'm even better shape now.
No, you are in good shape. I almost cried when I saw a picture of you, Alec, and Peter, and whoever, like, had some pool or something together. That's why I'm never stepping foot in Canada. I'm gonna have to keep my shirt on in the pool. Well, I'm guy now. I don't understand. What is it like? Why are all of the Big Brother Canada guys in shape? It's ridiculous.
I don't know. I mean, not all of us are in shape. I would say that I guess I'm in like okay shape, but I think that.
Well, you're still holding on to your
my youth.
Though.
Yes, that's part of it. And I think
at your age, I also, but people thought I had a six-pack, but it was actually the outline of my organs that they were seeing. But still better that than what they're seeing now. So
yeah, I think it's the youth thing, Eric. Because my season, I think that there was a lot of like the only guys that were really out of shape. And even when they came into the house, I think Bruno and Ginger Ninja, like Bruno is still in pretty good shape. And he's not even that old. He's like 32. He just seems like he's in his 40s. And Ginger Ninja was in actually decently good shape. And then after the show, it kind of just all went to hell. But he's working out again. He's doing better. So, but yeah, that's the thing. I never really thought about that. Maybe that'll be another podcast we can do.
Hot vibes of Big Brother North America.
Yes.
Okay. That won't be creepy at all.
Oh man, Eric, I love you so much.
OC, we're gonna meet back up, right?
Yeah. So before we wrap things up, so Eric and I are going to be doing an OC podcast because if you have watched the teen drama, The OC, like we have, there's lots of things you can talk about with that entire series. Eric, you said you've seen every episode multiple times.
Oh yes, during my retired days after the show, it was on SoapNet in the middle of the afternoons. And I would just sit there from like 2 to 5 p.m. every single day, watching them over and over and over again. And that was after the first watch, have the DVDs. I am embarrassingly well-versed in the OC, which I think is one of the underrated gems of the television world. Now, I don't think that, it's going to be a mega cast. Let's get real. If we just talk this long about this, it's going to be a long one. I don't think anyone is going to care. I think this is more for our personal archives. Like when we want to go back and watch it, I think like 5-10 people will probably join us for that. I don't think it has quite the expansive fan base as a Saved by the Bell or a Back to the Future or some of the other things that have been covered, in past podcasts. But I don't care. Because I want to talk about it.
And guess what? Eric? I only have 5 to 10 people listen to my show anyway, normally. So that's not much of a change for me. And I think that, this is 100% just for our own personal sanity. And honestly, Eric, I remember listening to the Saved by the Bell podcast you did with Rob. I believe that was 2 parts. And I remember sitting in the house. I think I was talking about the OC with Zach. That's what we named our alliance after. We called ourselves Newport. And I remember at the end of that podcast, maybe it was the Billy Madison one with Rob, you said, I'm down to talk about the OC. And before I even went in the house, and when I was in the house, I remembered that. And I was like, man, as soon as I get out, I'm going to track down the great white whale that is Eric Stein. And we are going to talk about the OC. And it is going to be marvelous.
I think that we need to rehab my reputation here. Was I that hard to get a hold of?
No, you
responded to you right
away. Although I don't know. That's just a reputation Rob has given you. And I don't know.
It's taken on a life of its own. I'm not sure I was ever all that mysterious. Nah, it probably was.
I mean, here's the thing.
It's less difficult with time.
Well, I think what happened was there was a period in time, like when Rob as a podcast first kind of took off. you came like during Big Brother 12. I don't think you came on, but then I think 13 you came on to talk about Danielle, and then there was there was a few of those.
I didn't want to talk about Big Brother. That was the
that was the problem. And then for 14 you weren't on, and then when you came on 15, Rob's like, "Ooh, the great white whale, Eric Stein is back."
Right. That's why I love doing that's why the OC's perfect, because I if I lay it into Seth Cohen, he's not coming back after me on All Stars. So,
although I will come after you, Eric, because
I
Seth
know.
Cohen, at the same time as I was worshiping you as a young lad, which sounds incredibly creepy, and I'm sorry, but during that summer was the first time that I saw the OC. There were some reruns on this Canadian basically this Canadian ripoff of MTV, and they were replaying it every single day at like 2 p.m. And I just watched I just couldn't stop it. And Seth Cohen was like, it was like you and Seth Cohen. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I love these guys so much, which is crazy. But no,
what a disturbing
childhood.
Jesus. Really rough. My brother, after the season 1 finale of the OC, he had to take a walk to compose himself. He was so choked up. This is a Stein family treasure. So I feel like I might be able to loop in even a few other people. It might be just the 5 of us, but I think we can get some people who are going to understand the absolute just sensational experience of the OC.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so pumped. So I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. So you guys keep on the lookout for that. It's going to be a very fun show. I don't know when we'll have it going. We might have to do it in a couple parts. We'll see what happens. But Eric and I and some others, hopefully, we'll be talking about the OC, and it's going to be a very fun time. And I'm looking so forward to that so much, Eric. And just based on today and how things went and how much fun I had, I can't imagine how much fun we're going to have talking about that.
No, that's going to rock. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, Eric. Okay. For all of you listening to this live on YouTube, thank you for joining us. We need a hashtag for this episode, Eric, and I think that there is nothing more fitting than hashtag Big Baller Wentworth. How about that?
I like it.
Okay.
There'll be very, very, very few people who have any idea what that means.
But to the very few, I want to hear from you. So please tweet me. I love when you tweet me. Eric, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, what if it turns out, though, that she was actually like in his network of dealers, that they actually are connected and we just didn't know? Maybe her whole game is based on his.
Yeah, maybe Kelly went with
a grand reveal at the finale. Little did you know, I studied ace game player Adam Jasinski.
Yeah,
that would be a twist.
And I used the same slurs that Adam Big Baller Jasinski used about children in my regular everyday life as well.
Children that he supposedly also was like, mentoring, that he was looking after.
No, Eric, it's okay. I work with them. I can call them whenever I want.
Oh yeah, that's the old. Isn't that the MO of all people who spew hatred? It's okay for me to do that. It's great. Terrible.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And you know what? There are a few candidates, but would you be at all surprised if here we are sitting in December and we actually have the Big Baller Wentworth taking home $1 million? I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think right now, Eric, I think that she's definitely the favorite. I just think based on Kelly's interactivity with the fans and having T-shirts and all that kind of stuff, I think that she's got a really good shot. I mean, hell, she even listened to my podcast 2 weeks ago, Eric. So, I mean, clearly, if she's listening to Survivor stuff, she's doing well. Right she's doing well. Yeah. So, shout out to Kelly Wentworth if you're listening to this. And shout out to Brendan Villegas, also, who listened to my last season rankings podcast. And apologies for being so low on season 12 and season 13. But
you see, this is what I'm talking about. Now you have an enemy there.
Yeah, poor. I love Brendan. He seems like a nice guy. He seemed to take it okay, yeah, but secretly,
yes, he's a super. Really one of the best guys to just go out and chill with from this whole universe. He's great.
Great dude. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. For Eric Stein, I'm Jordan Parhar. Hashtag Big Baller Wentworth. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.